Not afraid, she mimicked her grandmother's stance, hands on her hips, full of confidence. "Where's your family from?" The man was slightly wary, fearing she might have influential connections. "Why do you care where my family is from? My grandfather fought against the Japanese, and we're 8 generations of poor farmers," Tang Nianyan said proudly, rolling her eyes at him. "Regardless of whether you're a poor farmer, this house is a poison of capitalism and will be confiscated." The man bluffed, trying to intimidate her. "Are you trying to steal my house? Get out, or I'll call the police." Tang Nianyan rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and swung it at the man. "You're out of control. This house is a poison of capitalism. You, a young girl, dare to live here? Move out, or I'll send you to a re-education farm." The man stepped back in fear from the sharp knife, nearly tripping over the threshold. "Uft! What poison of capitalism? This house has been transferred to me. It's mine. My family is innocent, and you can't fool me. Get out, or I'll chop you up." Tang Nianyan waved the knife, nearly hitting the man's face, causing him to flee in panic. "Get out. If you come back to cause trouble, don't blame me for being rude." Tang Nianyan chased him outside with the knife, her voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. This was a villa area, home to many prominent people, including some foreign consuls. Today was the weekend, and a few foreigners were out for a walk when they heard the commotion and came over to see what was happening. Seeing several blonde-haired, blue-eyed foreigners, Tang Nianyan raised her voice even more. "This house was transferred to me by my relative, legally and rightfully. Why are you trying to steal my house? You're just bullying a rural girl and trying to take my home. I'm enforcing the law." "You, madam," brandished a knife at me as soon as I entered, obstructing my duties. "This is outrageous." The flustered man, desperate and angry, tried to turn the tables by accusing Tang Nianyan of attacking him. The onlookers whispered among themselves, glancing back and forth between Tang Nianyan and the man, unsure of whom to believe. Both seemed confident, but the pretty girl with the knife looked like she meant business. Tang Nianyan smirked internally, saying loudly, "How would I know who you are? This house was given to me by my uncle. You barged in like a robber, threatening me and claiming this house is a poison of capitalism. I'll tell you, my family is 8 generations of poor farmers, and my grandfather fought against the Japanese. Don't think you can bully me. This house is innocent. Where's the poison of capitalism? It seems like you're the one with a mind full of poison, trying to steal from the common people." She deliberately raised her voice, speaking clearly, so everyone could hear. The crowd's expressions shifted, and they began to look at the man with anger. In this new society, under the blue sky, how could such robbery still exist? Du Iluan, the owner of this house, is a capitalist. He's been missing for days, and I suspect he has defected, which is why I came to investigate. I'm diligently performing my duties and have a clear conscience." The man acted convincingly, appearing very upright, causing the crowd to lean in his favor. "Du Iluan is my distant uncle. I didn't know he was a capitalist. Anyway, my grandfather fought against the Japanese. My family is 8 generations of poor farmers, and this house was transferred to me. It's mine now. My family is innocent, and I'm a formal worker at a state-owned factory. Why can't I live in this house?" Tang Nianyan countered with solid reasoning, and the crowd nodded in agreement. The pretty girl was right. The house had been transferred, and the previous owner's issues shouldn't fall on her. Tang Nianyan looked at the man and said loudly, "You claim to enforce the law, but you are fiercer than the little devils my grandfather talked about. You came in cursing at me and trying to kick me out. How are you like a public servant? You are slandering me. I spoke to you nicely, but you attacked me with a knife and interrupted my work." The man's face turned red with anger. He wanted to strangle Tang Nianyan. However, he still had some sense and knew he couldn't lose his temper in front of the crowd. That would mean falling for this wild girl's trick. Just now, he was so fierce with me. Even the little devils aren't as fierce as him. Our commune's officials are much kinder. No wonder my grandmother said that officials in big cities are fiercer than bandits. It's true. Tang Nianyan pointed at the man, looking very wronged. Although her words were a bit harsh, she was beautiful and young, so the crowd was quite forgiving and felt that the man was indeed being unreasonable. His eyes were bulging. No wonder he scared the young girl. The property deed is here, and I am the current homeowner. This is my work ID. My family has been poor farmers for 8 generations, and I am part of the working class. May I live in this house? Tang Nian kept mentioning her family's history of being poor farmers, which was the best shield in this era. She took out the property deed and her work ID from the factory and handed them to the man. As she got closer, Tang Nian whispered a threat. You better leave now, or I will tell the police that you broke into my home with bad intentions and tried to act like a pervert. Though she was threatening him, her expression was still wronged. After her threat, she asked loudly, Do you see now? Am I qualified to live in this house? After asking, she whispered another threat, I am pretty and a woman. Do you think the police will believe you or me? The man was sweating and gritting his teeth, glaring at Tang Nian. He had been using his power for years, but had never encountered such a shameless and tricky woman. She was even more bandit-like than a bandit. He really didn't dare to gamble. If Tang Nian went to her workplace and accused him of being a pervert, his future would be ruined. He had a bright future ahead and didn't want to ruin it over a house. You'll regret this. The man nearly ground his teeth in anger. He roughly glanced at the property deed and work ID, noting Tang Nian's workplace. Zhucheng Progress Machinery Factory. Tang Nian. He remembered that. She would regret it. I apologize for my earlier attitude. I must have given you the wrong impression.
I'm sorry.
You can live in this house, but please inform me if you see Du Yiluan in the future. The man forced a smile and returned the property deed and work ID to Tang Nian. Forget it. Just remember to study more and take notes so you don't make such mistakes again. Tang Nian acted generously, but her words infuriated the man, who ground his teeth in frustration. Only she and Tang Nian could hear it. Sorry for the trouble. Goodbye. The man left with a grim expression, pushing his bike away. He would find a way to get that house. She was just a small worker from a small county. Humph. He had plenty of ways to deal with her. Tang Nian glanced at his back and smiled at the onlookers. I just moved in. Sorry for the trouble. You're welcome. Neighbors are better than distant relatives. The neighbors were polite, showing more warmth than people do today. After chatting with them for a while, Tang Nian said she needed to clean up, and the neighbors quickly found excuses to leave. The few foreigners had already dispersed. They didn't interact with the locals, as if they were from 2 different worlds, rarely crossing paths. Even if they met face to face, they wouldn't greet each other. After Tang Nian entered the house, she climbed over the back wall and quickly caught up with the slow-moving man on his bike. There were many people in the alley, and the man was riding slowly, sometimes even getting off to push his bike. In just a few minutes, he hadn't gone far. Tang Nian followed slowly, and when the man turned a corner, she pulled out a slingshot and 3 stones from her pocket. She wrapped the 3 stones in leather, stretched the rubber band back, and let go. The stones shot toward the man. Just as they were about to hit him, they split apart. One hit the back of his head, and the other 2 hit the back of his knees.
Ah!
The man, who was pushing his bike, felt a sharp pain in his head and then in his knees, causing him to stumble forward and fall hard. His glasses shattered, his mouth bled, and his knee hit the stone pavement with a crack, breaking a bone.
Ah!
It hurts so much. Who did this? The man lay on the ground, feeling around for his glasses, blind without them. Everything was blurry, and his head and legs hurt badly. My glasses. Someone help me find my glasses.
Ah!
Help. He groaned while asking the people nearby for help. A kind person helped him pick up his glasses, but the lenses were shattered, leaving him with just the empty frame, still blind. In the end, it was still the kind crowd that helped him to the hospital. Tang Nian stepped out from the corner, feeling proud, and turned to go home, but she locked eyes with a blonde boy in the second-floor window. The boy, about 15 or 16 years old, had his mouth open in shock, looking at Tang Nian as if she were a goddess. Are you Lu Xinyang? The boy spoke Chinese very well and, after regaining his senses, leaned out of the window to speak loudly to Tang Nian. He had just witnessed this beautiful girl use a magical weapon to shoot 3 projectiles at that man. It was definitely an amazing skill. The boy had just watched the 3 heroines of the Jianghu, and his idol was Lu Xingyang, especially her incredible skill. He dreamed of learning it and talked about wanting to find a master to teach him every day. He wanted to learn. He wanted to ask this beautiful girl to be his master and teach him Chinese martial arts. Coming to Shanghai was indeed the right choice. The real masters were in the mainland. Tang Nian twitched her mouth. Where did this silly kid come from? No, I'm not. Tang Nian quickly denied it. She wished she had Lu Xingyang's skills, but the truth was she didn't. If she had even half of Lu Xingyang's power, she would be even more arrogant, creating chaos everywhere. Her main goal would be to act recklessly and do whatever she wanted. Master, I am Emile, your dear disciple. Emile was anxious, afraid that Tang Nian would leave, and he wouldn't be able to find her. He stepped onto the windowsill and was about to jump down, which startled Tang Nian and made her stop him. She didn't care about this foreign boy's life or death, but someone living here must have an unusual background. If he died, it would definitely cause trouble, and she didn't want that hassle. Emile, what are you doing? A soprano voice came from inside, striking deep into the soul, followed by a sharp slap. Emile's collar was grabbed, and he received a crisp slap on his backside. A beautiful woman with blonde hair and blue eyes leaned out of the window, smiled gently at Tang Nian, and then pulled her son back inside to teach him a lesson. Mom, I met my master. She is Lu Xingyang, and she will teach me Chinese martial arts. Please don't pull my collar. I've told you many times, I'm 15 now. I'm not a child anymore. Please respect me a little. Emile tried to reason with his mother in English, but no matter the country, a mother's authority is supreme. This is China. I can spank you, and no police will come. I've told you many times, Lu Xingyang is a fictional character. There's no such thing as flying martial arts. Even Chinese people say it's fake. You fool, and you still believe it? If you jump down again, I'll spank you. Mom, my master can fly flowers and pick leaves. Do you know what that means? It's when you pick a leaf and shoot it out to cut someone's neck.
Ah.
Mom, please stop spanking me. I'm really getting angry. Emile's cries echoed through the alley, but his mother clearly didn't believe him and was very harsh. Tang Nian smiled and left lightly. It seems that once someone becomes a mother, their temper, strength, and voice all grow stronger. If she becomes a mother in the future, she would definitely teach her child without mercy. The saying that under the stick, a filial son is born has been proven true for thousands of years and must be followed. On the first day of moving into her new home, Tang Nian had a wonderful time. She packed all the albums and paintings from the attic into boxes and stored them away. The next morning, she had breakfast in her space and prepared to find Director Jia to ask if the quota for the trade fair had been confirmed. There was just over a month until the trade fair, so she needed to finalize it quickly. At 8:30 a.m., as she was about to leave, she opened the door and saw Emile wandering at the entrance. His eyes lit up when he saw her, and he happily shouted, "Master." "I'm not your master." Tang Nian was a bit speechless. She didn't even know this kid. "Master, I'm definitely a natural talent for martial arts. Feel my bones. Am I not a rare talent? If you accept me and help me open my meridians, I'll be the best fighter in the world." Emile blocked her path, excitedly promoting himself. Tang Nian found it amusing. Whether he was a martial arts genius was still unclear, but he certainly had thick skin. His obsession with martial arts was real, and it was surprising for a foreigner to even know about the meridians. "Master, my name is Emile. I'm 15 years old." "Is that a bit old?" "But it doesn't matter. I'm exceptionally talented. I can train for a year and be better than others who train for 10 years.
Please accept me."
Emile clasped his hands in a pleading manner. He was quite tall, nearly 6 feet, resembling a giant pug. "How do you know about Lu Xingyang?" Tang Nian was curious. She remembered Liang Yuxing's novels, which wouldn't have reached the mainland until the 1980s, right? Could she be mistaken? Last year, my family was in Hong Kong, but this year my dad was transferred here, Emil explained. His father was a diplomat at the American consulate in Shanghai, previously working in Hong Kong. Emil had lived there for 7 or 8 years, which is why he spoke fluent Chinese. Lu Xinjiang is a fictional character. What you read is just a novel, not real. Tang Nian Nian explained seriously. This silly kid had been brainwashed by a novel. Can you fly flowers and pick leaves? Emil asked earnestly, instinctively believing his master could do it. When he first saw Tang Nian Nian, he thought she looked just like Lu Xinjiang, exactly as described in the book. Tang Nian Nian fell silent. She didn't like lying to children, but she really didn't want to play with a little kid. Yes, but I don't want to teach you.
Tang Nian spoke honestly.
Emil was overjoyed, but then he looked disappointed and asked pitifully, Master, what do I have to do for you to teach me? Can I pay tuition? My family is very wealthy. My uncle runs a company and comes to China for business every year. I can give you a lot of pocket money. Tang Nian Nian was about to leave but paused at his words and asked, What kind of company does your uncle run? He runs a trading company and comes here every year to buy goods. Emil was very honest, babbling on about his family background. Tang Nian Nian's expression gradually became enthusiastic. This kid's uncle could be a big client for her in the future. Do you want to learn how to fly flowers and pick leaves? And that hidden weapon you showed yesterday, I want to learn that too. Emil's eyes were filled with excitement. In the future, if he didn't like someone, he could use the hidden weapon against them. I can teach you, but there are conditions. Tang Nian Nian was straightforward about her intentions. Master, does that mean I have to pay tuition? I'll go home and get it right now. Emil immediately turned to run home for money, but Tang Nian Nian grabbed his collar, stopping him in his tracks. We'll talk about tuition later. When your uncle arrives, introduce me to him. I have a big business deal to discuss with him. Tang Nian Nian stated her purpose. My uncle won't be here for a few days. I'll take you to meet him when he arrives. My uncle listens to me. Emil sighed in relief. He had a great relationship with his uncle, and even without Tang Nian Nian saying it, he planned to introduce her to him. He also had a small wish to have Tang Nian Nian as his aunt, so they would be family, and she would teach him even more diligently. Watch closely. Tang Nian Nian picked a leaf from the osmanthus tree in the yard, pinched it between her fingers, and told Emil to pay attention. With a flick of her wrist, the leaf shot out like lightning, cutting through a nearby blade of grass. Emil didn't blink, but he still didn't see how Tang Nian Nian launched it. He only saw a green flash fly out. Then the grass was cut. He ran over to pick up the cut grass, which had a clean cut, and the osmanthus leaf lay on the ground. He was thrilled. This was flying flowers and picking leaves. He finally saw it. Master, will you teach me this? Emil ran back, pleading, imagining that once he learned it, he could show off when he returned home and definitely amaze everyone. First, practice your hand strength. At this rate, practice for 2 hours every day. Tang Nian Nian instructed him to practice with playing cards at home, starting with 2 hours a day. Emil took careful notes and promised to practice diligently. Go home now, and don't come here too often. Tang Nian Nian pushed the silly kid out of the yard and onto his bicycle. Master, I'm going home. Bye-bye. Emil waved happily and danced his way home, convinced he would soon become a martial arts master. Tang Nian Nian smiled and rode away. First, she would go to the turbine factory to find Minister Niu and ask about the trade fair. Minister Niu was happy to see her in his office. Tang Nian Nian presented him with some local specialties from Beijing, saying, I just returned from Beijing. Here are some gifts. You're too polite. Don't waste money in the future. Let's have some tea. Minister Niu scolded her playfully, but was still very pleased. It's not about the value of the gift, but the thought behind it. She remembered him while in Beijing. I didn't spend much, Uncle Niu. Has the quota for the trade fair been confirmed? Tang Nian Nian asked straightforwardly. Minister Niu shook his head. The initial list is set, but it hasn't been finalized. Director Jia has been fighting for you, but unfortunately, there are too many opponents. However, Xiao Tang, don't worry. If Director Jie can't secure it, you can come with our factory. I can guarantee that. Thank you, Uncle Niu. I'll think of another way. Tang Nian was not surprised. Many people would be competing for the list at the Canton Fair, and it was indeed tough for Director Jie alone. She decided to add some fuel to the fire. Uncle Niu, if I can get the foreign exchange orders in advance, does that increase my chances? Of course. If you can get the foreign exchange orders, it shows you have the capability, and they will definitely prioritize you. Before Minister Niu could react, he followed her words. After a moment, he realized and asked in surprise, Xiao Tang, can you really get the foreign exchange orders? I don't have confidence yet. I'll talk about it once I get them. Tang Nian truly lacked confidence and needed to meet Emil's uncle to understand better. There was a knock at the door and the secretary came in, saying, Minister, Mr. Andrew from the Peace Hotel called. He wants to bring some people to visit the turbine factory. How should I respond? Andrew is already here? That's earlier than previous years. Minister Niu smiled, clearly familiar with Andrew. He arrived yesterday. Mr. Andrew said he brought a few friends who are visiting China for the first time. They want to familiarize themselves with the market here in advance and ideally complete some orders before the Canton Fair to avoid the crowds, the secretary replied. Ha, that's great. As long as Andrew's friends are fine, they can visit anytime. I can also introduce them to clients. Wait, I'll call Andrew myself. Minister Niu laughed heartily, eager for these foreigners to stay in the city longer. If they could sign orders in advance, the city's foreign exchange targets could be exceeded. I'll find Translator Li. Mr. Andrew's translator isn't very good. The secretary went to find Translator Li, who was responsible for receiving foreigners. He had just received Andrew's call and couldn't understand the translator. After a while, the secretary hurried back, saying Translator Li was out handling something urgent and wouldn't be back for a while. I'll call Andrew once Translator Li returns. Minister Niu was anxious but had no choice. He couldn't speak a word of English and couldn't understand it either. Tang Nian had an idea and offered, Uncle Niu, I can help you translate. How could I forget about the available translator? Haha, I'll call Andrew now, and Xiao Tang, you translate. Minister Niu slapped his forehead, delighted, and picked up the phone to dial. He first called the Jinjiang Hotel's front desk, where most guests coming to the city were arranged to stay, and Andrew's group was there. Once the call connected, Minister Niu handed the receiver to Tang Nian. Hello, I am Mr. Niu, Xilin's secretary. Mr. Niu sends his regards and welcomes you to the city. Tang Nian spoke fluent English, communicating with Andrew without any barriers. Her translation was clear and concise, even better than Translator Li's. Minister Niu was thrilled and gave a thumbs up. The more time he spent with Xiao Tang, the more he discovered her strengths. She was like a treasure with countless advantages. If he could have such a capable daughter, it would be a blessing for the Niu family. Tang Nian spoke with Andrew for about 10 minutes, confirming the time for their visit to the turbine factory. Both Minister Niu and Andrew were very satisfied. Secretary Tang, my friends want to buy some handicrafts with Chinese characteristics. Does Mr. Niu have any recommendations? Andrew asked. Yes, I happen to have a batch of very unique handicrafts that will definitely meet your friends' tastes and needs. If you don't mind, I can bring some samples for them to look at right now. Tang Nian quickly interjected, believing that her factory's handicrafts were definitely more appealing than those from the Oriental Handicraft Factory. She wasn't being arrogant. Andrew was a regular visitor to the city and surely knew about the Oriental handicrafts. However, he still asked Minister Niu for recommendations, indicating he wasn't satisfied with them. Tang Nian had seen the products from the Oriental Handicraft Factory, and, to be honest, they were indeed outdated and didn't match current trends, which explained the decreasing foreign exchange orders. Andrew agreed happily. He had indeed taken his friends to the Oriental Handicraft Factory, and they had gone there as soon as they arrived yesterday. His friends weren't interested in those handicrafts, saying they were too old-fashioned. That's why he asked Minister Niu for recommendations, and he was pleasantly surprised. Tang Nian chatted with Andrew for a while longer before hanging up. Minister Niu blinked and asked dryly, Xiao Tang, you talked so much with Andrew. Why did you only translate a few sentences for me? He felt like she might have been saying something bad about him behind his back. Uncle Neo, the rest wasn't related to the turbine factory. Andrew's friends wanted to buy some handicrafts. They had already looked at the Oriental ones and weren't satisfied, so I promoted our factory's products. I'll bring some samples for them to see. Tang Nian didn't hide anything and wanted to inform Minister Neo that she hadn't stolen the opportunity from the Orientals. It was just that they weren't appealing enough, and Andrew's friends didn't like them. Then hurry up and go, Minister Neo urged, hoping Tang Nian could secure this order. As for the Oriental Handicraft Factory, Minister Neo couldn't be bothered. They weren't in the same department. However, he knew that the Oriental factory had been in disarray for years, focusing on internal conflicts rather than improving their products. It was no surprise they were being eliminated by the times. Tang Nian quickly finished her cold tea and rushed out. She ran into Su Lifeng downstairs in the office building. She immediately recognized the sharp-faced deputy head of production, glanced at his knee, and saw he was walking normally, indicating his injury had healed. Su Lifeng recognized her too and smiled insincerely, saying, "Comrade Tang, you're not even an employee of our factory. Why do you keep coming here? The products we produce are confidential. If any core technology is lost, you can't escape responsibility. Minister Neo sent me here. If you have something to say, talk to him." Tang Nian didn't want to deal with such a scheming person and preferred to let Minister Neo handle it. Don't think that just because you have Neo Xiaolin backing you, you can act tough. Now I suspect you are a spy trying to steal our core technology. Come with me. Su Lifeng, used to throwing his weight around, immediately accused Tang Nian of being a spy. He learned this tactic from his wife's uncle. His wife's uncle was always labeling people at the tail-cutting meeting, and Su Lifeng had picked up quite a bit from him, using this tactic to deal with many people. Tang Nian sneered, looking around to see no one was watching. Tang Nian rushed in front of Su Lifeng, knocked him out with a slap, and dragged him to a nearby grove, taking a shortcut, so no one saw her. Once in the grove, Tang Nian stripped Su Lifeng down to his underwear and used indelible ink to draw several turtles on him. She also wrote, "I am Su Lifeng from the turbine factory. I am a disgrace, and I deserve to die." After that, she beat him up until he was bruised and battered, making it look like he was caught in the act of wrongdoing and got beaten up. After finishing, Tang Nian threw him into a space and gave him sleeping pills, enough for this scoundrel to sleep for a day, then swaggered out of the factory. She returned home for a while, then came out with a bag full of samples and headed to the Jinjiang Hotel. The Jinjiang Hotel was established before the liberation and is run by a legendary woman. Tang Nian had read her biography, which was very inspiring. Now, the Jinjiang Hotel is state-owned, mainly used to host foreign guests and important visitors. Even compared to modern hotels, its layout and architecture are quite stylish. The Huamao apartment, built in 1929, also known as the 13-story building, was the predecessor of the Jinjiang Hotel. The Maoming apartment, completed in 1934, has 18 stories and is now the VIP building. The hotel staff are carefully selected. They must have good looks, speak well, and have at least a high school education with a clean background. "Comrade, may I ask who you are looking for?" the staff politely asked. "I have an appointment with Mr. Andrew in room 306. My name is Tang Nian from the Beautiful Crafts Factory." Tang Nian handed over the introduction letter from the Beautiful Crafts Factory. The staff glanced at it, called room 306, and after receiving a positive response from Andrew, smiled and said, "Comrade Tang, Mr. Andrew invites you to go up." "Thank you." Tang Nian smiled and entered the elevator with her bag. As soon as she stepped out of the elevator, she saw a foreign man with a big belly, around 40 years old, with a beard, not very tall, and a bit chubby, looking quite amusing. Andrew was taken aback when he saw Tang Nian coming out of the elevator, then extended his hand and smiled. "Beautiful Miss Tang Nian, hello." "Hello, Mr. Andrew." Tang Nian shook his hand confidently. Andrew led her to the room, where another man was present, about the same age but tall and thin, wearing glasses and looking serious, resembling a university professor. "This is my friend Carl, visiting China for the first time. Andrew introduced his friend, and Tang Nian shook his hand as well. She placed the bag on the table and took out the samples one by one. At first, Carl's expression didn't change, but as Tang Nian revealed each item, his surprise grew, and he leaned forward. Carl couldn't sit still. "Are these hairpins made by you?" Carl walked to the table and picked up a sparkling hairpin. With his years of experience in retail, he knew this hairpin was definitely ahead of current trends. Even in Paris, there weren't any as beautiful. He didn't expect such a big surprise on this trip to China. "Yes, these are all made by us," Tang Nian confidently replied, taking out all the samples from the bag and organizing them. Carl stared intently, his eyes gradually becoming enthusiastic. Yesterday, after visiting the Eastern Crafts factory, he was disappointed with his trip, thinking he would return empty-handed. "Is this a fan?" Andrew picked up a wheat straw fan, shook it a few times, and couldn't put it down. "It's both a fan and a craft. It's woven from wheat straw, natural and eco-friendly, with no chemical materials. The embroidery is done by skilled artisans, all handmade, and it takes at least a day and night to make one fan." Tang Nian spoke without hesitation, feeling no guilt in deceiving foreigners. The skilled artisans were actually elderly women like her grandmother, who could make a fan in an hour. If the old lady wasn't gossiping, she could do it even faster. But Tang Nian knew that foreigners cared most about handmade, natural, and eco-friendly products with Chinese characteristics. Sure enough, Carl and Andrew looked at the fan as if it were a first love, appreciating its exquisite beauty, practicality, and the fact that it was made from natural materials, knowing it would sell well back home. "Is this made of pearls?" Carl picked up a pearl-crafted pagoda and loved it. "Yes, it's made from natural freshwater pearls, woven one by beautiful young girls. It takes about 10 days to make such a pagoda, which is very time-consuming and labor-intensive. Only young girls can do this kind of detailed work." Tang Nian exaggerated a bit, knowing the foreigners wouldn't understand. Carl's eyes became even more enthusiastic. A pearl craft made by beautiful Chinese girls was a selling point in itself. "This is carved from shells, and these are bamboo weavings." Tang Nian introduced the other items. Carl and Andrew were very interested in the bamboo weavings, but they didn't know what bamboo was. "Do you know about giant pandas?" Tang Nian asked. "Yes, those adorable little creatures." Carl and Andrew smiled widely. They loved giant pandas and wished they could pet them. "Bamboo is the food of giant pandas. These are all made from bamboo, which can be used as decorations and is very practical, sturdy, and eco-friendly. They were crafted by the elderly in our village, who have lived through many years." Tang Nian added some artistic descriptions, and Carl and Andrew listened intently, their interest in the bamboo weavings growing. This was the food of giant pandas. They never expected the crafts made from it would look so beautiful. Tang Nian also demonstrated how to use each bamboo item. Carl and Andrew watched closely, exclaiming in amazement at the wonders of this ancient, mysterious Eastern country, where even the simplest items had a history longer than their own country. "Miss Tang, what are the prices for these products?" Carl eagerly asked about the prices, wanting to make a purchase before anyone else could snatch them up. "Mr. Carl, as you know, these are all handmade, and the materials are quite rare. For example, bamboo must first be given to giant pandas to eat, and only the leftovers can be used for weaving. And pearls take about 10 years to grow, and not every clam produces a pearl. Do you know what else pearls are called?" Tang Nian suddenly changed the topic. Carl and Andrew were taken aback, then shook their heads and asked in unison, "What else? What else could pearls be called?" "The tears of angels." Tang Nian casually made this up. It wasn't entirely her invention, as this phrase was used in later advertising. She just borrowed it. Carl and Andrew showed interest. They had never heard such an artistic name before. Tang Nian explained, "The process of pearl formation is like this. Sand enters the oyster's body, and the soft body of the oyster feels pain, shedding beautiful tears. These tears wrap around the sand, and over time, they form a lovely pearl, which is why it's called the tears of angels." I see. Thank you, Miss Tang, for sharing such a beautiful yet sad legend with us. Carl was particularly interested in these legends and became even more fascinated with pearl jewelry. Tang Nian smiled and brought the conversation back. These crafts are all handmade, which takes a lot of time and effort, so the price is definitely higher than machine-made items. She first quoted the price for the pearl ornaments. Each piece is $45. She had asked about the official purchase price for these pearl crafts, which was 45 renminbi. However, Tang Nian thought that was too low, so she decided to quote $45 instead, thinking she could lower it later if needed. Carl frowned slightly and said, "This price is too high, Miss Tang. I sincerely want to cooperate with your factory. Can you lower it a bit?" He was actually satisfied with a $45 price, but as a businessman, he had to negotiate and couldn't just accept any price. "Mr. Carl, this price is already a discount. Before I came, Minister Niu told me that he and Mr. Andrew are longtime friends and advised me to offer the best price, not to profit from foreign friends. We Chinese have a saying, in business, if a deal doesn't happen, we still maintain our friendship. If Mr. Carl doesn't buy, that's fine. We can just be friends. In fact, this batch has already attracted interest from someone else, but the contract isn't signed yet because the person hasn't arrived." Tang Nian spoke casually, fabricating a client. "Someone has already looked at this batch?" Carl furrowed his brow. This was not good. He wanted to get ahead and make a big profit when he returned home. "Yes, Mr. Lewis from the trading company. Do you know him? He often comes to China for business and will arrive in a couple of days." Tang Nian pretended to be innocent and casually mentioned the client's name. This Lewis was actually the uncle of Emile, a new foreign apprentice. Emile had shared everything about his family, including his uncle's birth date and some past relationships. Andrew and Carl exchanged glances. They knew Lewis and had a good relationship with him. Tang Nian mentioning Lewis's name clearly indicated she wasn't lying. It made sense for Lewis, who runs a trading company, to be interested in this batch. Any discerning businessman would appreciate these exquisite crafts. "What price did Lewis offer you?" Carl asked cautiously. He sensed that Tang Nian was quite naive and young, probably not very knowledgeable about business, so he wanted to test Lewis's offer. "Mr. Lewis hasn't made an offer yet, but he asked me not to sell to anyone else. However, I thought having another client would be good, so I secretly came to meet you. Please don't tell Mr. Lewis." Tang Nian flashed a bright, innocent smile, completely different from her usual cold demeanor. Carl had no doubts and even felt pleased. Luckily, he arrived in Shanghai first. He had to secure this batch. "Miss Tang, I won't negotiate on the $45 price, but I have one request. All the products from your factory must be sold to me and not to anyone else. We can sign a contract." Carl was very decisive and wanted to sign the contract first. "Our factory has many products. Can you handle them all?" Tang Nian asked deliberately. "How many are there? Let me calculate. These pearl ornaments, about 200,000. Tang Nian quoted a number. At $45 each, 200,000 wasn't too much. Xian Pearl had said her family village had a lot of pearls, enough to make these ornaments. "I'll take the 200,000. What are the prices for these?" Carl's eyes didn't blink when he heard it was only 200,000. Once he brought the pearls back home, he could at least double his profit. Tang Nian regretted that he agreed so quickly. She must have quoted too low. So, she raised the prices for the remaining items. The straw fans were $12 each. The large bamboo weavings ranged from $10 to $15, the small ones from $5 to $8, shell carvings were $1 to $5, and hairpins were $0, $50 to $2. The prices were several times higher than the initial estimates, totaling over $300,000 in orders. Carl signed the contract without hesitation and even agreed to pay an $80,000 deposit, but with the condition that she couldn't sell to anyone else. "I can't agree to that. Our factory is quite large, and you can't handle it all, Mr. Carl. I can promise to prioritize your orders so you can get ahead. How does that sound?" Tang Nian didn't agree. She still wanted to make a big deal at the trade fair. Although Carl was dissatisfied, he knew his request was a bit excessive, so he agreed to let Tang Nian Nian ship to him first. That's fine. Tang Nian Nian readily agreed and wrote that clause in the contract, which made Carl happy. He was straightforward, and after reaching an agreement, he pulled out the contract. Tang Nian Nian wasn't very familiar with business contracts, especially in foreign trade, so she hesitated and called Minister Niu. Uncle Niu, I need to ask you something. What is it? Did you meet Andrew and the others? How did it go? Minister Niu was very concerned and thought Tang Nian Nian might not have succeeded in selling her products, wondering how to comfort her. I met them, and both he and his friend were quite nice. They were satisfied with the samples I brought and want to sign a contract with me. I don't understand this area well. Can you introduce a professional to help me? Tang Nian Nian said. That's good to hear. Andrew is a decent person. If it doesn't work out this time, no worries. Just try harder next time. Don't lose heart, Xiao Tang. Minister Niu's brain, ears, and mouth were all working separately. He heard what Tang Nian Nian said, and his brain was analyzing, but his mouth was still saying the comforting words he had prepared. Suddenly, he jolted, almost falling off his chair. Xiao Tang, what did you just say? A contract? Andrew's friend wants to buy your products? Minister Niu finally reacted overjoyed. Xiao Tang had achieved a great success on her first attempt. Indeed, it was said that heroes emerge from youth. They found it difficult to secure a foreign exchange order, but Xiao Tang effortlessly sold her products. How capable she was! Yes, Mr. Carl is very satisfied with the products I brought and wants to sign a contract. Uncle Niu, please help me find a professional to assist me with the contract.
Tang Nian Nian Samai.
Wait a moment. I'll make a call. Xiao Tang, you're amazing. Well done. Minister Niu couldn't help but praise her. If this girl were his daughter, he would praise her 100 times a day. Minister Niu hung up the phone and called the Foreign Trade Office, where there were professionals responsible for foreign trade contracts. Beautiful Crafts Factory? Where is that? It's in Zhucheng. They have already negotiated business with foreign merchants and are just waiting to sign the contract. Please send someone to help. Comrade Tang is new to foreign trade and doesn't understand much, Minister Niu said. Oh, it's from Zhucheng. Why isn't it from our city, Hucheng? The person from the Foreign Trade Office sounded a bit disappointed. The foreign exchange revenue from this order would count for Zhucheng, not Hucheng. Your attitude is not right. Whether it's Zhucheng or Hucheng, it's all part of our country. Earning foreign exchange is a good thing for the nation and the people. Are you unwilling? If so, I'll find someone else. Minister Niu was unhappy and scolded the person on the other end. It's not that I'm unwilling. I'm just worried we won't meet this year's foreign exchange targets. We're still far behind. The other person quickly explained, and Minister Niu didn't press further. He insisted they send someone to the Jinjiang Hotel and added, hurry up. If there's a delay in Comrade Tang signing the contract, I'll have to report to Director Su. Make sure to send someone capable. I'll send someone right away, Minister Niu. You're too worried. It's just a small crafts factory in a county. How big can the order be? A few tens of thousands at most. The person thought Minister Niu was overreacting. For a small crafts factory, an order of 30 or 40,000 would be impressive. Even the Oriental Crafts Factory in Hucheng only had foreign trade orders peaking at 250,000. Could this beautiful crafts factory be better than Oriental? Regardless of the order size, even if it's only 10,000, it's still a good thing. Your attitude is quite problematic. Minister Niu frowned, getting angry. The person on the phone quickly apologized and promised to send the most capable comrade Shengguan Jing to help. Shengguan Jing is good. Let her go. Minister Niu knew Shengguan Jing from their previous work together. She was a young woman who was very skilled in foreign trade. He called Tang Nian Nian again, saying, a woman named Shengguan Jing will come to assist you in signing the contract. Her company is not in Hucheng. It's a crafts factory in Zhucheng. Thank you, Uncle Niu. Once the contract is signed, I'll treat you to a drink. Tang Nian Nian was very grateful that the Foreign Trade Office sent Shengguan Jing, clearly because of Minister Niu's influence. No rush on the drinks. Finish your work first. There will be plenty of time for that later. Minister Niu laughed as he hung up, unable to stop smiling. Although he thought Tang Nianyan's order would only reach 30 or 40,000, he was still proud of her. She was just 17. In a few years, she might achieve even more. Shangguan Jing received the notice to go to the Jinjiang Hotel to assist a girl named Tang Nianyan in signing a foreign trade contract. She thought her superiors were a bit too anxious about this small order, which usually didn't require her involvement. However, she didn't question it further. An hour later, she arrived at the Jinjiang Hotel and met Tang Nianyan and Andrew. "Hello, I'm Shangguan Jing, here to assist you with the contract." Shangguan Jing extended her hand, clearly stating her identity.
Hello, I'm Tang Nian Nian.
Here's the situation. Tang Nianyan shook her hand and briefly explained the order with Carl. When she mentioned the amount was 300,000, Shangguan Jing's calm expression cracked slightly, but her professionalism kept her shock in check. After Tang Nianyan finished, she asked, "Is that 300,000 US dollars or RMB?"
She thought it should be RMB.
How could a crafts factory have a $300,000 order? From her years of foreign trade experience, it seemed impossible. US dollars. Tang Nianyan's tone was firm. Shangguan Jing's expression cracked again. She even checked her ears to make sure she heard correctly. "May I ask how many workers your beautiful crafts factory has?" Shangguan Jing actually wanted to say, "Can your factory handle a 300,000 order?" If they can't deliver on time, they would face penalties, which is not a small amount. "We have over 200 people in our village, and more than half are productive. We also have many backup workers from other villages. Don't worry, if I dare to sign, I guarantee we'll meet the delivery time." Tang Nian noticed her concern and immediately reassured her. If the village doesn't have enough hands, they can find people from other villages. Most older villagers can weave things like straw fans and bamboo crafts. If someone can't do it, they can be trained quickly. There's no need to worry about materials. There's plenty of bamboo on the mountain, and she has a lot of straw in her space. She can find an excuse to take it out later. Seeing Tang Nian so confident, Shangguan Jing felt a bit more at ease. She picked up the draft contract Carl had prepared. When she saw the prices for each product, her expression cracked for the third time. Known for her seriousness and composure, Shangguan Jing completely failed to manage her expression today. A small pearl tower costs 45 yuan, while that shiny hairpin, which sells for just over a yuan in department stores, is being sold to Carl for $4.5, which translates to dozens of yuan. And the bamboo crafts, charging over $10? The shell carvings also cost several dollars. From her perspective, Tang Nian was clearly overcharging, almost like outright robbery. Yet Carl actually agreed and signed such an unequal contract. Shangguan Jing glanced at Tang Nian, wondering if this girl had somehow enchanted Carl. Tang Nian smiled at her and asked, "Is there any problem with the contract?" "No problem." Shangguan Jing hesitated for a moment and smiled back. In reality, there were issues with the contract. She felt it was too unfair to Carl, but she wouldn't say it out loud. This was $300,000 in foreign exchange. "Are you sure Mr. Carl is okay with this price?" Shangguan Jing asked quietly. She was worried Carl might feel cheated by Tang Nian. If he realized later and caused a scene at the Foreign Trade Bureau, it would be very problematic. "He's fine with it. He even asked me to sign the contract first. Besides, this price is actually very cheap. All the materials are natural and environmentally friendly, and it's all handmade. If it weren't for my good rapport with Mr. Carl, I definitely wouldn't offer such a low price." Tang Nian genuinely felt the price was too cheap. Having been abroad in her past life, she knew how much foreigners cherished Chinese crafts. For her products, Carl could easily make 2 to 3 times the profit once he took them back. Unfortunately, very few people in our country have this awareness. The prices for things sold to foreigners are often very low, wasting good products. Shangguan Jing stared wide-eyed at Tang Nian, as if she were an alien. Having started working at 18 and been in foreign trade for 10 years, this was the first time she had seen such a confident person from her country. She even thought Tang Nian was a bit overly confident. Although these crafts were indeed exquisite, they weren't worth such high prices. Shang Guanjing couldn't help but glance at Carl, finding him a bit foolish. However, she certainly wouldn't say that out loud. This was about earning foreign exchange for the country, and the more, the better. Tang Nian noticed her thoughts and asked, Comrade Shangguan, you've never been abroad, have you?
No.
Shangguan Jing shook her head. If you had the chance to go out and see, you would know how cheap my prices are. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this pearl tower, if Mr. Carl takes it abroad, will definitely sell for at least 3 times the price, and there's no worry about it not selling. Tang Nian picked up a pearl tower as an example. Shangguan Jing looked a bit skeptical. Can it really sell for that much? And how does this girl know the market prices abroad? Shangguan Jing didn't press further. The topic was too sensitive, and she was afraid it would bring trouble to Tang Nian. Since Carl and Tang Nian had reached an agreement, the contract was happily signed. Carl said he would quickly transfer the $100,000 deposit to the account of the beautiful crafts factory. Mr. Carl, it's a pleasure to cooperate. Tang Nian said goodbye to them, needing to rush back to Tang Village to arrange production tasks. From now on, they would have to work overtime. Fortunately, the harvest was completed, and it was the off-season, so everyone in the village could work. Pleasure working together, Miss Tang. I have a bold request. May I visit your factory to see the production process? Carl was eager to witness how these handmade products were made, mainly to take some promotional photos, which would be a big selling point when he returned home. Of course. Mr. Carl, just let me know the time in advance. Tang Nian readily agreed. Probably in about a week. I'll call you then, Miss Tang, Carl said with a smile. Okay. Tang Nian shook hands with them and left the Jinjiang Hotel, with Shangguan Jing accompanying her. Thank you, Comrade Shangguan. Shall we grab a meal together?
Tang Nian apasita Shangguan.
Although she seemed hard to get along with, she was very serious and responsible, with strong professional skills. She liked people who took their work seriously. No, I need to go back and report. We can eat together another time. Shangguan Jing politely declined, but she also had a good impression of Tang Nian. She had a feeling that she and this young lady would cross paths again in the future. Are you going to the Canton Fair? Tang Nian asked. Shangguan Jing nodded. She smiled and said, Then when we get to Yangcheng, I'll treat you to a meal. Great. Looking forward to seeing you in Yangcheng. Shangguan Jing waved goodbye and rode away. After returning to the office, she reported to her boss. The boss was drinking tea, and when he heard that a pearl tower sold for $45, he spat out his tea, almost hitting Shangguan Jing. Are you kidding? Isn't this deceiving foreign merchants? This girl named Tang Nian is going too far. How could you let her do this? No, this contract can't count. It needs to be signed again. The boss was worried that Carl would cause trouble if he found out he had been deceived, which would have a very negative impact. He didn't listen to Shangguan Jing's explanation and called Minister Niu, saying unhappily that Tang Nian is too reckless. She actually deceived a foreign merchant. Selling a small pearl tower for $45? Do you know how much the domestic purchase price for pearls is? This small pearl tower is worth at most 45 yuan. If Mr. Carl finds out this price, he will definitely cause a scene. Bring her over. This contract needs to be changed. Is the pearl tower really that cheap? Minister Niu was skeptical. He thought pearls were expensive. The pearls used for crafting are of poor quality and not expensive. $45 is about 80 or 90 yuan. This Tang Nian is really bold, damaging our reputation. Hearing this, Minister Niu became displeased and said with a frown, You don't even know the details yet. Why are you jumping to conclusions? How do you know Mr. Carl was deceived? What if he willingly agreed? You not only lack awareness but also common sense, always labeling others. This mindset is unacceptable. How could he willingly agree? Carl isn't a fool. How can he make a profit at this price? The Foreign Trade Office leader retorted. He hadn't been abroad either, and didn't know how popular these items were overseas. Boss, Tang Nian said that this pearl tower could sell for at least 3 times the price abroad, Shangguan Jing said quietly. She doesn't know anything. Has she ever been abroad? Nonsense. The boss glared, feeling that his capable subordinate was being fooled by a reckless girl, which was very disappointing. I don't think Tang Nian is lying. Boss, you haven't been abroad either, so how do you know she's wrong? Shangguan Jing calmly countered. The boss was suddenly speechless, glaring at Shangguan Jing in anger. Shangguan Jing wasn't afraid and said, Boss, you are too stubborn. You haven't even understood the truth and are already judging her. If you were a judge, you would cause many wrongful convictions. Get out. The boss was so angry that his face turned blue. He had always been too kind, which allowed his subordinates to become increasingly unruly. How could she say he was stubborn? If he were truly stubborn, would these kids have become so bold? Shangguan Jing snorted and left the office, slamming the door with a loud bang, making the boss's heart race. He grabbed his teacup to throw it but hesitated, not wanting to break something he had spent money on. Don't think that just because you're capable, I won't discipline you. Shangguan Jing, write me a self-criticism of at least 800 words. What kind of talk is this? Who's the boss here, you or me? The boss shouted angrily, and outside, it was silent. Once he closed the door, everyone immediately began to whisper. Old Wang must have been kicked out of bed by his wife last night. I saw scratches on his chin this morning. He said it was from a stray cat. Definitely. He came in with a dark face early in the morning, and it's still dark in the afternoon. They must have had a big fight last night. Poor old Wang, bullied by a tigress. What a pity. Everyone enjoyed discussing the boss's private life, not worried about being overheard, knowing that he was just pretending to be angry and wouldn't do anything to them. Minister Niu scolded old Wang over the phone, saying he would first ask Tang Nian for clarification. Minister Niu was about to send someone to find her when Tang Nian showed up on her own. What's going on with your 300,000 order? Hurry up and tell me. Minister Niu asked impatiently. Although he had silenced the person on the phone, he was genuinely worried. What if Tang made a mistake? This was a matter of international reputation, and it could lead to big trouble. Here's the deal. Mr. Andrew's friend, Mr. Carl, was satisfied with the 120 samples I brought and asked to sign a contract. He was also happy with the price. Tang Nian casually poured herself some water, having talked so much earlier that her mouth was dry. You're selling that pearl tower for $45? Did Carl agree? Minister Niu emphasized the word dollars. No wonder old Wang was angry. He was starting to suspect that Tang was tricking the foreigner. How could a small pearl tower be sold for $45? Tang must have gotten really bold. Yes, Carl even wants to buy all the products from our beautiful factory, but I didn't agree. He can't handle it all by himself. Tang Nian looked at him disdainfully, thinking that even the production minister had no worldly experience. Minister Niu choked on his own saliva, now doubting whether it was Carl who was foolish or if Tang was just boasting. Be honest, you didn't trick Mr. Carl, did you? Minister Niu asked seriously and directly. I just used a little normal marketing strategy. Uncle Niu, I know what you're worried about. Let me put it this way. Our beautiful factory's pearl tower, if Carl sells it abroad, the price will at least double. He could sell it with his eyes closed. There's no way he would lose money. Tang Nian decided to be clear. She had many more products to sell to foreigners in the future. Selling for $45 was just the beginning. She needed to prepare them for higher prices. Minister Niu was half convinced. Could $45 actually lead to big profits? Did foreigners have so much money to burn? If you don't believe me, just call my master and ask him. You'll see I'm not lying. Tang Nian felt a bit sad. The Chinese had been poor and backward for too long, lacking national confidence. Even someone like Minister Niu, who had seen the world, felt insecure when dealing with foreigners. How could ordinary people feel any different? Being backward means getting bullied, and without national confidence, the saying that economic foundations determine superstructures applies to everything. She wasn't a good person, but she still had a patriotic heart. She hoped to contribute a little to the country's economic development. She couldn't guarantee much, but when doing business with foreigners in the future, She would definitely ask for high prices. There was no highest, only higher. Minister Niu personally invited old Zhang and explained the situation. $45 isn't expensive at all. Foreigners love these little gadgets. Nian, you should ask for even more next time. $45 is too cheap for Carl. Old Zhang carefully examined the Pearl Tower and was very dissatisfied with Tang Nian's price. It was too low. Minister Niu twitched his lips. It was true that like master, like apprentice. Both were incredibly bold. It is indeed low. Carl agreed too quickly. That was a miscalculation. Tang Nian felt regretful. When Carl eagerly wanted to sign the contract, she knew she had set the price too low, but she couldn't take it back now. She didn't want to embarrass herself. There will be more opportunities in the future. You did very well for your first business deal with a foreigner by daring to set this price. Old Zhang praised her. After the trade fair, I'll raise the price, but it's a pity we don't have enough pearls. Tang Nian felt a bit disappointed. The pearl stock from Shanxia Lake was low, only enough for Carl. At the trade fair, she could only focus on bamboo weaving, shell carving, and hairpins. The biggest pity was that it took too long to cultivate pearls, at least 4 to 5 years to form, so there would only be enough pearl crafts to sell this time. Minister Niu had a thought and quickly said, I think the Oriental factory has a batch of stock pearls. You could collaborate with them. Although he didn't like the way the Oriental factory operated, as a fellow business in Hu City, he was willing to help. Tang Nian frowned slightly and said, the Oriental factory is too tricky. Collaborating with them is too exhausting. I'll talk to old Jia about it. Leave the pearl matter to me. Minister Niu took it upon himself. He also called Andrew to indirectly ask about Carl's opinion on the order. Carl is very happy. He thanks Mr. Niu for introducing the beautiful Miss Tang. Once I finish my matters in Hu City, Carl and I will visit Miss Tang's factory. Andrew laughed heartily on the phone, sincerely thanking him and saying he wanted to treat Minister Niu to a meal. Only then did Minister Niu feel completely relieved. He politely declined the meal invitation and called the Foreign Trade Office. You guys are supposed to be in foreign trade, yet you have no insight. You sit up high and exaggerate, messing things up without even understanding the foreign market. Selling the Pearl Tower for $45 is reasonable. Mr. Carl has no objections, yet you're the ones making a fuss. Can't you stand to see your own people do well? Little Tang worked hard to secure a 300,000 order, making such a big contribution, and yet you doubted her? How disheartening for her. Minister Niu took the initiative to criticize the Foreign Trade Office. In fact, the Foreign Trade Office had already sent someone to understand the situation and found out that Carl was indeed very satisfied with the order and had no complaints. They realized they had wronged Tang Nian and felt guilty. We misunderstood the situation and wronged little Tang. Next time I'll host a meal. Old Niu, you little Tang, and old Jia should join. On the other end of the phone was Director Su from the Foreign Trade Office, who was the final decision-maker for the trade fair list. He was very curious about Tang Nian, whom he had never met, and wanted to see her. No rush for the meal, old Su. Aren't you worried about the foreign exchange task? I have an idea. Little Tang is a once-in-a-century talent. You've seen her sales skills. She's also multilingual and can design. The crafts she signed with Carl were all designed by her, and the foreigners love them. Minister Niu, feeling a bit dry, took a big sip of tea and continued, Our Hu City is a major player in foreign exchange, under great pressure. Old Su, you're worried sick. How about we take a bold step at the autumn trade fair and let little Tang's beautiful craft factory participate? There might be great surprises. But the beautiful factory is from Zhucheng. Even if they sign $1 million order, it doesn't relate to Hu City, Director Su reminded. Old Su, you can't be so narrow-minded. Whether it's Hu City or Zhucheng, the profits are still in our own pot. Little Tang can definitely secure more orders at the trade fair. If the beautiful factory can't keep up with production, our Oriental factory in Hu City can collaborate with them. Minister Niu revealed his intention. Hu City had more than just the Oriental factory. There were several others, and they could all collaborate, allowing the foreign exchange earnings to count for Hu City. Even if he didn't say it, Director Su had thought of it too, but He couldn't agree immediately and said they needed to discuss it in a meeting. Be quick. Little Tang is a once-in-a-century talent. If you don't act fast, someone else will snatch her away. Minister Niu wasn't exaggerating. If the capital learned about someone like Tang Nian, they would definitely offer generous conditions to poach her, so they had to act quickly. Minister Niu talked on the phone with Director Su for a long time, both discussing how to secure a spot for Tang Nian at the Canton Fair. Only after Director Su agreed to prioritize the beautiful crafts factory did he hang up, finishing his tea in one go. Don't worry. Old Su said they will discuss it in a meeting, so it's basically settled. Minister Niu reassured Tang Nian as Director Su has the final say, and there's a 70 to 80% chance of getting that spot. Thank you, Uncle Niu, Tang Nian said gratefully.
Don't mention it.
I won't keep you for dinner. I've been very busy lately. Minister Niu was indeed busy. The factory's new product had encountered technical issues, and he was constantly in the technical department or the workshop, running around. Zhang Lao felt ashamed. He wasn't knowledgeable about steam turbines and couldn't help. However, he was trying to contact classmates who were experts in steam turbines, but unfortunately, he hadn't reached anyone yet. It had been chaotic over the years, and they had lost touch, even unsure if they were alive. Uncle Niu, is there a technical problem?
Tang Nian asked.
She wasn't an expert on steam turbines, but she had some understanding and had read related professional books, so maybe she could help a little. Minister Niu's eyes lit up, and he quickly said, Xiao Tang, why don't you go take a look? Maybe Xiao Tang would have a solution? Uncle Niu, I don't know much about steam turbines. I might not be able to help, Tang Nian said up front, not wanting him to have too high hopes and end up disappointed. That's fine, just take a look. Minister Niu comforted her and pulled her to the workshop. Zhang Lao followed them. They first went to the technical department, where all the engineers were present, looking disheveled and wearing wrinkled clothes, with no regard for their appearance. They've been eating and drinking here, working several night shifts, Minister Niu explained. Tang Nian secretly admired them. Nowadays, whether ordinary workers or scientists and technicians, they all had a spirit of sacrifice and dedication, something many in later generations couldn't match. She certainly didn't. She was quite selfish. She initially thought she couldn't help, but felt lucky that the problems these people faced had already been solved in the future, and she just happened to have read relevant professional books. Instead of pointing out directly, she casually asked some questions, guiding them to think of solutions, and Zhang Lao also offered some very useful suggestions. The group was overjoyed, completely immersed in their work, entering a state of forgetfulness. Minister Niu was a bit dumbfounded. He only managed production and didn't understand technology. He hadn't understood anything when Xiao Tang was talking to them, but it seemed like the problem was solved. Excuse me. An engineer rushed over, needing to go out for materials, rudely pushing Minister Niu aside. Minister Niu stepped aside, but before he could steady himself, another engineer pushed him away. Fine, I'll go out. Minister Niu felt a bit embarrassed and decided to leave. Tang Nian also went outside. Xiao Tang, did you find a solution? Minister Niu asked excitedly. Maybe? I'm not sure. Tang Nian replied with a smile. I knew you would have a solution. Xiao Tang, you're truly a genius. Would you like to work at the factory? No need to clock in every day, and the salary will definitely satisfy you. Minister Niu started recruiting again, making the conditions more tempting. Thank you, Uncle Niu, but let's talk about it later.
Tang Nian family decline.
She didn't want to be tied down to one place. It felt too restricting. She planned to resign from her jobs at the Tianjin factory and Hongqing factory once the machine tool factory was up and running, focusing solely on managing the factory. If she owned shares in dozens of factories, she would never run out of money. Minister Niu sighed in disappointment, but didn't give up hope. Xiao Tang said to talk about it later, so he would bring it up again after some time. After all, Liu Bei visited Zhuge Liang 3 times to invite him. It was only right for him to ask Xiao Tang a few more times since she was such a talented person. Uncle Niu, I'm heading back to the guest house. As it got darker, Tang Nian said her goodbyes. She wanted to visit Deng Chongsheng. Go ahead, Be careful on the way. Minister Nyo smiled and watched her leave before returning to his office. Once outside the steam turbine factory, it was even darker. She stopped by a store to buy a big watermelon and 2 bottles of alcohol before riding toward Deng Chongqing's home. Deng Chongqing lived in a military compound, with a guard standing straight at the entrance, looking very imposing. Tang Nian registered her identity, and the guard called Deng Chongqing for confirmation before letting her in. Nian girl, you bought so much stuff. What a waste of money. Deng Chongqing came out to greet her, smiling from a distance, speaking to her like she was family. It's my first visit. I can't come empty-handed. Tang Nian explained seriously, promising she wouldn't bring gifts next time. Deng Chongqing laughed heartily. He liked her straightforwardness. Come on, dinner is ready, just waiting for you. Deng Chongqing took the watermelon and walked alongside Tang Nian, beaming with joy, looking kinder than usual. Old Deng, who is this pretty girl? They met several people along the way, and seeing Deng Chongqing, who usually had a stern face, smiling like this, with a lovely girl beside him, piqued their curiosity. My granddaughter, my real one. Deng Chongqing emphasized that she was his biological granddaughter and introduced Tang Nian to a few old friends. Although these old men wore patched shirts and shorts, looking like neighborhood uncles, each of them had an impressive background. Tang Nian was polite, not overly enthusiastic, but not cold either, greeting each one respectfully. Your granddaughter is really beautiful, stunning. Several old men had heard Deng Chongqing talk about Tang Nian before. They used to think he exaggerated, claiming his granddaughter was more beautiful than a fairy. Now that they saw her, they realized he was telling the truth, and they couldn't help but feel envious. Deng Chongqing laughed proudly, leading Tang Nian home amid their admiration and jealousy. His wife was a spirited old lady, a revolutionary partner who had fought in battles. Her surname was Tian, and her name was Tian Chonghong. Tang Nian called her Grandma Tian. My old Deng is so lucky to have you taking care of him. Treat this as your own home and come back for meals often. Tian Chonghong liked Tang Nian more and more. She appreciated bold and generous girls and found the pretentious ones annoying. I'll come whenever I can. Your cooking is delicious. Tang Nian also wanted to visit often. Grandma Tian's cooking was truly great, and she loved it. Haha, just tell me what you want to eat, and I'll make it for you. Tian Chonghong was delighted. She wondered why this girl was so likable. Okay. Tang Nian nodded, not planning to be polite. Investing in Deng Chongqing had been very successful, and now it was time to reap the rewards. Tian Chonghong tried hard to persuade her to stay overnight, but Tang Nian declined. She wasn't used to staying at others' homes. That night, she rode home alone. Deng Chongqing wasn't worried. She was quite capable and could easily navigate the city. Halfway home, Tang Nian suddenly remembered Su Lifeng in her space and quickly found a secluded spot to let her out. Su Lifeng was still sound asleep, likely not waking up until tomorrow morning. Tang Nian dragged him to the busiest street in his city. Although there weren't many people at night, it would be crowded with cars and pedestrians by 7 or 8 in the morning. Wearing only a pair of shorts, Su Lifeng was unceremoniously left on the street while she went back to the guest house to sleep. After working all night in the space, Tang Nian didn't wake up until noon, skipping breakfast and feeling a bit sluggish. After washing up, she went downstairs to eat and overheard the waitstaff gossiping. How embarrassing! So many people saw it, and he wasn't even dressed. I happened to pass by on my way to work. Oh my, it was shocking. A few waitresses, all married, spoke openly, and their voices grew louder. Tang Nian listened for a moment in the hallway, frowning. She had left him with a pair of shorts. Where did they go? She intentionally walked heavily, and the women's chatter immediately stopped. They pretended to be busy cleaning tables and mopping the floor. Tang Nian smiled at them as she left, not caring about Su Lifeng's shorts. After all, it wasn't her who was embarrassed. However, she underestimated people's gossiping skills. Su Lifeng's incident had already spread throughout the city. When she entered a restaurant, she heard customers discussing it in even more outrageous terms. That Su Laifeng from the turbine factory, the one who likes to act tough, barely has any meat on him. Did you see him this morning? TSK, just like a piece of shredded meat. One diner held up a slender piece of meat with his chopsticks. The others burst into laughter, their expression suggestive. I heard Su Laifeng's partner is a man. I heard that too. How could someone like that be a deputy director in the turbine factory? Is there no one else? I'd be better than Su Laifeng. At least I'm a man. The diners continued to exaggerate, and if it went on, they might even change Su Laifeng's gender. After finishing her meal, Tang Nian planned to return to the turbine factory to see what was happening. What really happened with those shorts? Who pulled off the last piece of fabric? Su Laifeng was at the turbine factory too. He had been woken up by insults that morning while still dreaming, only to hear someone calling him a shameless scoundrel, which made him furious. As soon as he woke up, the sunlight blinded him, and he was surrounded by many people, making it hard for him to tell if he was still dreaming or in reality. It took several minutes for him to fully wake up and realize his situation. He had been left on the street for everyone to see, with no privacy at all. He also heard many people calling him a pervert, which made him both angry and ashamed, causing him to faint again. When he woke up, he was already at the turbine factory, dressed properly. An employee from the turbine factory recognized him and kindly brought him back. Now, Su Laifeng was facing the factory director, the secretary, and Minister Niu. It was Tang Nian. She stripped me and threw me on the street.
Su Laifeng kom lai.
The last person he encountered before fainting was Tang Nian. It had to be her doing. How dare you blame Tang Nian? You shameless scoundrel. You have the nerve to slander her? She's a lovely girl, and you think she would strip an old pervert like you? How can you even say that? Su Laifeng, you disgust me. Minister Niu jumped up in anger and slapped Su Laifeng several times. Tang Nian had just solved a major technical problem for the factory, and this shameless man dared to tarnish her name. He deserved severe punishment. The director and secretary also looked displeased. Their gazes towards Su Laifeng were harsh. Even if Tang Nian hadn't solved the technical problem, they wouldn't believe his ridiculous claims. Saying that Tang Nian stripped Su Laifeng was as unbelievable as saying Minister Niu did it. Even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe that. It really was Tang Nian. I met her at the factory yesterday morning, and she was very angry. She hit me without a word. Look at my face. These injuries are from her.
Then
I lost consciousness. It must have been her. Su Laifeng pointed at his face, moving closer to make sure they could see the injuries clearly. Don't come any closer. Stay back. Minister Niu stepped back in disgust. He found Su Laifeng repulsive. The director and secretary also instinctively moved away, sharing the same sentiment, believing Su Laifeng was unclean. Tang Nian was busy all day yesterday, and many people saw her. She isn't some magical being who can clone herself to hit you. Su Laifeng, you're just making baseless accusations. Minister Niu's expression turned cold, believing Su Laifeng had ulterior motives and was trying to harm Tang Nian. Unfortunately, this fool was too stupid to make a good case. No one would believe his nonsense. So many people saw Tang Nian at the Jinjiang restaurant, and she was with him in the technical department solving problems. How could she have had time to teach him a lesson? Deputy Minister Su, you might be overworked and stressed. You should take some time off to rest. The director spoke politely, knowing Su Laifeng's brother-in-law was someone they couldn't afford to offend. I'm not stressed. It's Tang Nian who did this to me. I will get to the bottom of this. Su Laifeng was furious. He had lost so much face, and he needed to settle the score with Tang Nian. His brother-in-law loved beautiful women, and Tang Nian was attractive enough to please him. He would have to involve his brother-in-law to get revenge. When Tang Nian arrived at the turbine factory, Su Laifeng had already left. Minister Niu warned her to be careful of Su Laifeng's brother-in-law, Li Dehai. Li Dehai used to be a worker at the turbine factory, known for being unruly and getting into fights. He was fired and later joined a gang. Now he's a deputy director, and he's not a good person. Be careful. Minister Niu spoke cautiously, afraid of scaring Tang Nian. Li Dahai was not only violent but also lecherous, and many women had suffered because of him. I'll be careful. Tang Nian nodded, ready to deal with any trouble that came her way. The next day, Director Xie called Tang Nian, sounding very happy. Xiao Tang, your booth for the Canton Fair has been confirmed. It's booth number 74. It's a bit small and not in a great location, but with your skills, it shouldn't matter much. Booth 74 was squeezed into a corner, as Meili Factory is new and a village-run enterprise. If they were given a better spot, other companies would surely complain. Thank you, Uncle Xie. As long as we have a booth, that's fine. Tang Nian expressed her gratitude. The location didn't matter to her as it wouldn't hinder her sales. I didn't do much. It's mainly your hard work. You've already secured 300,000 in orders before even attending the fair. Director Su personally approved it and no one else dared to complain. Director Xie felt a bit embarrassed for not helping much. If it weren't for your groundwork, Director Su wouldn't have thought of me. By the way, Uncle Xie, how is Xiaoli doing? Tang Nian changed the subject, feeling a bit at a loss for words with all the pleasantries. Much better now. Xiaoli goes for short walks every day and has a better appetite. She's gained 5 pounds. Thank you so much, Xiao Tang. Talking about his daughter made Director Xie even happier, and he was very grateful to Tang Nian. You're welcome. I really like Xiaoli. Tang Nian had a good impression of Xiaoli and mentioned that she would visit their home to check on her health. Director Xie thanked her again, and after hanging up, Tang Nian rode her bike to their house. Xiaoli and her mother were home, and they were very happy to see her. Comrade Tang, please have some malted milk. Xiaoli's mother made a cup of rich malted milk, which was a high standard of hospitality these days. After finishing the malted milk, Tang Nian checked Xiaoli's pulse, which felt much stronger. You're recovering well. This bottle of medicine is a month's supply. Take one a day, and I'll prepare more when you're done. Tang Nian took out a bottle of medicine she had prepared the night before, with a slightly reduced amount of the special ingredient. Thank you, Sister Tang. Xiaoli accepted the medicine, secretly vowing to repay Sister Tang for saving her life once she was well. Please take this money for the medicine. The materials must be expensive. We will always remember your kindness. Xiaoli's mother handed her an envelope containing all their savings, a total of 1,000 yuan. They had spent a lot on Xiaoli's treatment over the years and could only offer this. Auntie, Uncle Xie, and I agreed that I wouldn't take any money. Tang Nian refused, as she had promised it was an equal exchange. I'm leaving now. I'll come back in a month. Tang Nian stood up and gently patted Xiaoli on the head. Sister Tang, goodbye. Xiaoli saw her to the door and waved.
Goodbye.
Tang Nian waved back and rode away. In the evening, when Director Xie returned home, he heard his wife say that Tang Nian refused the money, and he replied, if Xiao Tang doesn't want it, that's fine. We'll remember this and find a way to repay her later. Yes, if there's anything we can help with at work, we must be diligent. We owe Xiao Tang a great debt, his wife reminded him. I know, but Xiao Tang is very capable. I can't find an opportunity to repay her. Director Xie smiled, not mentioning that Tang Nian had secured a 300,000 order. He never discussed work at home to avoid his wife unintentionally spreading the news. As long as we remember, there will be opportunities, his wife said with a smile. Director Xie nodded and put a piece of meat in his daughter's bowl. It had been a long time since the family sat down together for a meal, and this long-awaited warmth made him feel happy enough to cry. His wife was right. As long as they remembered, they would surely find a way to repay Xiao Tang. Tang Nian had been busy these past few days, coming home late and forgetting all about her new apprentice, Emile. Master, you're finally back. Look at how well I've practiced. That evening, as Tang Nian arrived home and was about to unlock the door, Emile stopped her. He had been trying to find his master every day, but had always missed her. He looked a bit forlorn, but he was still very happy and immediately started showing off his card-throwing skills. He threw several playing cards, which flew all over the place, with only one landing somewhat accurately. Master, do you think I'm a martial arts genius? I have great talent, right? Emil looked at his master with hope, eager for praise. Tang Nianyan's mouth twitched. She really couldn't bring herself to say something insincere. This silly boy must be a once-in-a-century martial arts talent, right? Maybe it was a cultural limitation? Only Chinese people could learn Chinese martial arts well. It was normal for Emil, a foreigner, to struggle. How about learning karate instead? Tang Nianyan sincerely suggested that karate might be more suitable for this silly boy. No way. Karate is too common. I want to learn flying flowers and plucking leaves. Master, at this rate, how long will it take for me to reach LVC Nyang's level? Is a year enough? Emil was full of confidence, radiating self-assurance. It was clear that this boy was genuinely very confident. A year is definitely not enough. LVC Nyang practiced for decades to master flying flowers and plucking leaves. Just take your time. Tang Nianyan didn't bother correcting the silly boy, saying the truth would be too hurtful. She figured he would practice every day and might eventually give up on his own. Then I'll practice slowly. Master, my uncle is here. He wants to treat you to dinner. Let's go to the Jinjiang restaurant. The food there is delicious and my uncle is staying there, Emil said excitedly. Did you tell your uncle about me? Tang Nianyan felt a bit uneasy. She hoped it wouldn't backfire. Of course. I introduced you to my uncle with great enthusiasm. Emil nodded, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Once a teacher, always a teacher. He understood that. He even wanted to introduce his master to his uncle as his future aunt. Set a time. I need to go back to my hometown the day after tomorrow. Tang Nianyan also wanted to meet Louis, hoping to secure an order. How about tomorrow at noon? I'll call my uncle now. Emil ran off like the wind. This enthusiastic boy moved quickly, and Tang Nianyan couldn't help but smile. Being around someone like Emil lifted her spirits. In just a few minutes, Emil ran back, shouting, "Tomorrow at 11:30.
Got it.
Tang Nianyan leaned out the window and replied. Emil happily ran back home, forgetting to eat, and called his uncle. Uncle, dress nicely tomorrow. My master is more beautiful than an angel. If you can win her over, you'll hit the jackpot. Is your master running a company? Louis smiled, having long heard of Tang Nianyan, the master. That fool Carl had just arrived yesterday and bragged about how he had accidentally intercepted a shipment from him. The smugness in his tone made Louis's fists itch. Upon learning that Carl signed the contract for $45, Louis felt very happy and became even more curious about Tang Nianyan. He had dealt with many Chinese merchants before. Although they were all shrewd, they were limited in their experiences and hesitant to set high prices, making them quite passive in business. However, this Tang Nianyan was the first one he had met who dared to ask for a high price. The price of $45 was reasonable, as Chinese crafts are very popular overseas and can sell for high prices. Carl could make a good profit from this deal. Louis also wanted to see the crafts that Carl and Andrew praised so much. If they were truly exceptional, he would like to order a batch himself. Who wouldn't want to make money? Yes, she runs a company. Uncle, aren't you looking to stock up? You can source from my master. Emil eagerly promoted, having seen Tang Nianyan's crafts, which were indeed beautiful and sure to sell well. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Louis didn't agree right away. Business isn't a game, and he couldn't just rely on a child's word to buy Tang Nianyan's products. You won't be disappointed. I'm worried my master might not think highly of you. Sigh, why are you so weak? Emil spoke with disdain, feeling sorry for introducing such a weak uncle to his master. You little brat. Louis angrily cursed and hung up the phone. The next noon, he dressed up carefully, looking very formal in a suit and shiny shoes, with his hair styled. He was already handsome, and after getting ready, he looked like a movie star, making the restaurant staff steal glances at him. Tang Nianyan and Emil arrived at the hotel on time and spotted the peacock-like man from afar, exuding an electric charm that caught the attention of the women around him. Uncle. Emil quickly walked over, hugging Louis and formally introducing Tang Nian Nian. "Hello, Miss Tang." When Louis saw Tang Nian Nian's face, he was momentarily stunned and even bent down to kiss her hand. He thought to himself that his unreliable nephew had finally done something right. This Miss Tang was truly more beautiful than an angel, and he felt his heart flutter. "Hello." Tang Nian Nian took the initiative to shake his hand, using a firm grip that made Louis wince, causing him to tone down his gaze toward her and reconsider. Although Miss Tang was beautiful, her temper seemed a bit off, so he decided to be cautious. "Miss Tang, Carl told me I ordered a batch of goods from you. I wasn't aware of this." After sitting down, Louis jokingly brought up the matter to see Tang Nian Nian's reaction. "Mr. Louis, this is a reasonable marketing strategy. I didn't let Mr. Carl suffer any loss. My price is very fair, and you haven't incurred any loss either. It's a win-win situation, right?" Tang Nian Nian remained calm and composed. She hadn't harmed Louis's interests. She just made Carl earn a little less. Louis smiled and asked, "I'm very interested in the pearl crafts. Can I order a batch at Carl's price?" Tang Nian Nian shook her head. "The pearl crafts are sold out. You can look at other items." She took out samples from her bag: hairpins, bamboo weavings, wheat straw fans, and shell carvings. She had already called Zhou Guiqing and the team leader to expand their workforce and work overtime. Louis examined the samples closely. They were indeed impressive, especially the hairpins, which he hadn't seen abroad and were clearly uniquely designed by Tang Nian Nian's company. "They're all great, but a bit pricey. Can you lower the price? After all, you're Emil's master, and according to your culture, we're family now. Is there any discount?" Louis was well-versed in Chinese culture and skilled at bargaining. He intentionally tried to charm her with a deep, affectionate smile, a tactic that had worked on many women before. "In our culture, there's a saying that even close brothers must settle accounts clearly. I haven't made much profit on this price. I'm selling to you at the same price as Mr. Carl, and the delivery time will be after Mr. Carl's." Tang Nian Nian showed no reaction to Louis's charm and even found him a bit greasy. This guy looked like a nightclub veteran, surely having had his share of one-night stands, so dirty. Louis's smile faded. This girl was different from the women he had encountered before. She seemed immune to his charm and was completely unfazed. "How is Miss Tang's eyesight?" Louis, not giving up, thought Tang Nian Nian must be nearsighted. Otherwise, how could she not see his charm? "Very good, Mr. Louis. You have a pimple on your forehead." Tang Nian Nian replied expressionlessly, having spotted a small pimple through his hair. She picked up the teapot and poured him a cup of green tea. "You're overheated. Drink some green tea to cool down." Mainly to cut the grease. This guy had so much oil on him, it could fry 10 sticks. Louis awkwardly laughed, becoming busy with his hands, touching his nose and then his forehead. This was the first time he had met a woman like Tang Nian Nian, who didn't give him any face. Abroad, he was handsome, came from a good family, and had money, so women usually threw themselves at him, which made him increasingly arrogant, thinking all women were the same. Today, however, he hit a wall. Emil looked around, his expression silly. He sensed that his uncle and master weren't having a pleasant conversation, yet the atmosphere seemed quite enjoyable since his master even poured tea for his uncle. "This borscht is delicious." Emil had already had 2 bowls of soup and even served Tang Nian Nian a bowl. Louis glanced at him, making Emil feel a chill down his back. He quickly served his uncle a bowl too. After all, he still needed his uncle for pocket money. After sipping some soup, Louis felt less awkward and agreed to Tang Nian Nian's price and delivery time, indicating he wanted to sign a contract first. He had a feeling that after attending the trade fair, Tang Nian Nian's products would definitely be popular, so he wanted to secure his order early.
"Sure."
Tang Nian Nian had no problem with that. After lunch, Tang Nian Nian called Shengguan Jing, needing her to come over to sign the contract. "You signed another order?" Shengguan Jing, sipping tea, nearly choked. It had only been 3 or 4 days. How did Tang Nian Nian manage to get another order? Did all the foreign merchants in whose city come looking for Tang Nian Nian? Yes, 200,000. Tang Nian Nian's voice was calm. If the pearls hadn't sold out, It would have been more than that.
Bang!
Shangguan Jing excitedly knocked over her chair, her calf hurting from the impact, but she didn't care. That made a total of 500,000. Tang Nian's beautiful crafts factory had already generated 500,000 in foreign exchange before even attending the trade fair. That was more than the total from all the crafts factories in Hu City at the spring trade fair. I'll come right over. Shangguan Jing quickly calmed down, hung up the phone, and ran to report to her superiors. Her boss, sipping tea, nearly choked on this shocking news, coughing for a long time until his face turned a deep shade of purple. Did you really sign for 200,000? Is that true? How does Tang Nian have such great ability? Even the leaders were curious about Tang Nian. In just a few days, she secured 500,000 in foreign exchange orders. She was truly a sales genius. He asked Shangguan Jing to hurry to the Jinjiang Hotel to help, and then he went to report to Director Su. Director Su remained calm, but inside, he was unsettled. 500,000. And it was just a small village craft factory. Tang Nian was indeed a rare talent. He had to find a way to bring her to Hu City. Shangguan Jing rushed to the Jinjiang Hotel to help finalize the contract. She saw Tang Nian chatting happily with Louis, appearing confident and composed, and she admired her greatly. Miss Tang, about 3 or 4 days from now, Carl and I would like to visit your factory. How does that sound? Louis asked with a smile. You're very welcome. Our Tang village not only has beautiful scenery, but also lots of delicious food. I'm sure you'll love it, Tang Nian replied with a smile. I want to go too. Emile shouted excitedly upon hearing about the food. Aren't you going to school? Tang Nian asked in response. I can take a leave. I already know everything the school teaches, Emile said with a grin. Louis scoffed, thinking that he clearly didn't know much at all. However, he didn't expose his nephew's lie in front of others, wanting to give him some face. Louis couldn't understand why his sister and brother-in-law were both so academically gifted, graduating from Ivy League schools, yet their son had no academic talent at all, failing exams and even getting zeros. His sister's loud voice had gradually turned into a soprano after so many failures. Louis couldn't remember how gentle his sister used to be, how softly she spoke, and how his brother-in-law had pursued her because of her beauty and grace. Now, his sister was like a lioness, roaring fiercely, even intimidating her husband. Tang Nian didn't agree. She couldn't make that decision and had to wait for Emile's parents to decide. After signing the big order, Tang Nian was in a good mood and offered to treat Shangguan Jing to dinner. Thank you, but I need to go back and report on my work. We can eat another time, Shangguan Jing politely declined. You can come with Louis and the others to visit my factory. You can also tell your leaders that our beautiful factory is willing to cooperate with the craft factories in Hu City. We can discuss the details later. Tang Nian extended an olive branch, realizing that with so many orders, her factory couldn't handle them all alone and needed to collaborate with larger factories. Okay, I will pass that on. Shangguan Jing admired Tang Nian even more. Her vision was broader than many men, willing to share the opportunities she had. With this, there was no reason for Dongfang and the other craft factories to cause trouble anymore. Director Su had given the quota for the Canton Fair to the beautiful factory, and several craft factories led by Dongfang had been complaining daily, saying it was unfair to give the quota to outsiders instead of local units, which had made Director Su very annoyed. When Shangguan Jing returned to the office, before she could reach Director Su's office, she heard a familiar voice. Leader Beautiful is just a small village enterprise. Why should they get a quota? They are from outside the city and have no connection to Hu City. This beautiful factory is very arrogant. I even went to them for cooperation, but they ignored me. The speaker was the director of Dongfang Factory, who had many complaints about Tang Nian. Dongfang Factory had a quota for this Canton Fair, but the other factories did not, so they encouraged Dongfang to stir up trouble, especially since they were already upset with Tang Nian for not being cooperative. Is that cooperation? Don't think I don't know the truth. Are you looking down on someone? You arrogantly sent someone to notify them, demanding to merge their factory under your Dongfang name without a word. You're eating their food and then slapping them in the face. Who does that? They're right to ignore you. If it were me, I would slap you back. Director Su sneered, showing no mercy to Dongfang Factory. Beautiful is just a village enterprise. It would be their honor to merge with us. I've already given them enough face. The director of Dongfang Factory was very dissatisfied. He felt he hadn't done anything wrong. Beautiful has already signed a $500,000 order. You guys attend the Canton Fair twice a year, and your total orders don't even match half of that. This small village enterprise is dozens of times better than Dongfang. Director Su criticized Dongfang Factory harshly, stating that whether state-owned or village-run, as long as they could generate foreign exchange, they were good comrades, and he would support them vigorously. Dongfang Factory was left speechless, their expressions sullen. The other factories, which usually followed Dongfang's lead, also dared not speak up and lowered their heads. Director Su's face turned serious as he warned, "I'll make this clear. Anyone who dares to sabotage our efforts to generate foreign exchange will not be treated kindly. We will definitely support this fully. We are all one family in Hu City. Our factory will definitely support Beautiful." The other factories quickly expressed their support, fearing being put on Director Su's blacklist. Dongfang Factory reluctantly agreed, and Director Su shook his head secretly. Dongfang used to be the largest craft factory in Hu City, generating a lot of foreign exchange, but since the new director took over, it had been declining year by year. He needed to mention this to the higher-ups and get this factory director replaced soon. They couldn't just occupy a position without contributing and keep causing trouble. Shang Guanjing knocked on the door, and Director Su let her in. "Director, the contract has been signed. Comrade Tang Nian asked me to tell you that she is willing to cooperate with the craft factories in Hu City to work together on generating foreign exchange." Shang Guanjing relayed Tang Nian's message and added an extra note. Director Su was all smiles, saying good 3 times, praising Tang Nian. "Comrade Xiao Tang has a high awareness. She is truly a good comrade." He then turned to the embarrassed directors of the other factories and said, "Look at Comrade Xiao Tang's vision. Aren't you ashamed? You only know how to fight over the meat in the pot, with no ambition." The heads of the other factory directors hung even lower, except for the director of Dongfang Factory, who still didn't think he was wrong. He even believed Tang Nian was just putting on an act, pretending to be generous after eating all the meat and only offering a little soup to gain a good reputation. Director Lewis and Mr. Carl are going to visit Beautiful Factory, and Tang Nian invited me to join, Shang Guanjing asked. "Agree to it. When are they going?" "In about 3 or 4 days." "I agree. Once you go, assist Comrade Tang Nian in her work and report back to me afterward," Director Su instructed. He had a feeling that this visit might bring a big surprise. Shang Guanjing relaxed her serious expression, her eyes brightening with a smile. She had been busy with work for years and rarely had time to go out. This trip to Tang Village would be like a vacation, a chance to relax. Tang Nian was heading back to Zhu City. Before she left, she called Shang Guanjing, asking her to come over with Carl and the others, reminding them to call ahead. She first visited Wu City, where Zhou Guiqing's hairpin factory was bustling, having added 6 new machines, working around the clock without breaks. Zhou Guiqing took her on a tour of the workshop. After the visit, Tang Nian said, "You need more machines. At least 5 more should be added. I'll find a way. Don't worry, I've got this," Zhou Guiqing confidently assured her. He was now inexplicably in awe of Tang Nian. In just a few days in Hu City, he had secured orders worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, far exceeding his expectations. Once Miss Tang attended the trade fair, the orders would surely keep coming, and with domestic orders added in, they definitely needed more machines. "Here are a few new designs. Have the workshop start production quickly. In a few days, I'll bring foreign clients for a visit, so make sure everything is clean." Tang Nian pulled out some design sketches she had just created. Zhou Guiqing happily took them. He could recognize good designs, and he knew these would sell well once produced. He felt especially lucky for having sought out Beige and Zhucheng. Even if Tang Nian took 40% of the shares, he would still make a lot of money. This business was truly worthwhile. Should we hold a welcome ceremony? Zhou Guoqing asked. After all, they were foreign clients. It should be a grand occasion, right? No need. Just treat them like regular customers. Keep it clean and organized in the workshop, Tang Nianyan replied calmly, which made Zhou Guoqing admire her even more. He would get excited just seeing foreigners, but she was so calm about it and even dared to charge them high prices. Incredible. After briefing Zhou Guoqing, Tang Nianyan drove back to Zhucheng, first visiting factory director Qian and factory director Wu to check on the progress of the machine factory. It was going well, and if all went as planned, it would be up and running by spring next year. When she returned to Tang Village, the team leader was so shocked to hear that foreigners were coming to visit that he jumped 3 meters high, nearly dropping his eyes to the ground.
Nyan,
I'm a bit nervous. Should I hide that day? The team leader paced around the room, muttering. He had never seen a foreigner before and had heard stories about them eating raw meat and drinking blood, even cannibalism. He was too scared to meet them. Grandma Tang was getting impatient and slapped him on the back. Also joining in was Grandpa C, the team leader's father. What's there to be scared of? They're just foreigners, same as us, 1 nose, 2 eyes, 1 head. What's there to fear?
Grandpa C scolded.
He had worked under the Japanese before and had nearly lost his life. Could foreigners be worse than them? Dad, they eat raw meat and drink blood, and they have green eyes and yellow hair, like monkeys. It's terrifying. The team leader pouted, feeling that his father was being brave while he himself would be the one to host them. Let them eat raw meat. They won't eat you. Grandma Tang shot back, her eyes filled with disdain. After all this time, he was still as timid as when he was a child. What a disappointment. Exactly. They won't eat you, so what's there to be scared of? Grandpa C added. The team leader didn't want to argue with them. He knew he couldn't win a verbal battle and couldn't fight back, so he just sulked. Nianyan, should we hold a welcome ceremony? Tang Jianshu asked. That's not urgent. Right now, there's something for you to handle, third brother. When the foreigners come to visit, have the young women in the workshop weave straw fans and pearls, and we need to customize a batch of work clothes, Tang Nianyan replied. She wanted to order a batch of clothing for them. Floral tops paired with dark blue pants. This rural-style outfit would surely impress the foreigners. Carl and Louis would take photos and bring them back for promotion, which would be a big selling point. Since she was selling at a high price, she needed to provide a high-end working environment and cultural features to avoid disappointing the foreigners. What kind of work clothes? Tang Jianshu asked, eager to learn. Something like what my grandma wears, but with floral fabric and a style for young women. Can you make 50 pieces in 3 days? Tang Nianyan pointed to Grandma Tang's top, which was a simple dark blue design. Young women should wear floral clothes made from good fabric and should also wear floral headscarves, capturing the gentle beauty of Jiangnan girls. Grandma Tang glanced at her own outfit and said, making these clothes is simple, but the embroidery will take some effort. Go to other villages and hire people. Pay them $1.50 for making each outfit. Tang Nianyan was not worried. There was no problem money couldn't solve. Grandma Tang and third aunt both gasped, feeling that the pay was too high. They must be finished in 3 days, and the quality must be guaranteed. Otherwise, no payment. In the future, all workers in the factory, regardless of gender, will have standardized work clothes provided for free. Tang Nianyan wasn't just talking big. She genuinely wanted to create work clothes. Every day in the workshop, she saw clothes full of patches, and the overall look was dull and unappealing. Grandma Tang didn't say anything further. Her granddaughter was becoming more capable, and she didn't understand these matters. All she could do was not hold her granddaughter back or create trouble. Tang Nianyan assigned the work clothes task to third aunt, instructing her to negotiate with the neighboring village. She also privately reminded third aunt, if we agree on $1.50, make sure they pay that amount, not a penny less. But explain to them that the clothes must be of good quality and completed within 3 days. If they can't do it, there will be no payment. I understand, Nianyan. Don't worry, I'll handle it well. Third aunt Huang Zhaodi promised, feeling both nervous and excited. Finally, she could take on important work. While even second aunt Grandma Tang could earn $18, she felt a bit left out for not being able to contribute. She often complained to the team leader and wanted her husband to get her a job at the sock factory, but the team leader had firmly refused. Now it was finally her chance to shine, and she needed to do well to impress Nian. Who knows, there might be even more important tasks for her in the future. Third aunt, this batch of work clothes is very important. It relates to the future development of our Tang village for decades and involves several million in foreign exchange orders. If the clothes aren't completed on time, or if they cut corners and disappoint the foreigners, we could lose millions in orders. Tang Nian emphasized the seriousness of the situation, and she heard third aunt gasp, her face turning pale, sweat forming on her forehead, and her body trembling.
Nian.
I can't handle this task. You should find someone else. Huang Xiaodi's ambition quickly faded. Millions of dollars? She couldn't earn that much even if she worked 100 times. This was too risky for her. Tang Nian couldn't help but laugh. She had been so focused on intimidating third aunt that she forgot how timid she was, just like the team leader. I trust no one else more than you. This important task must be handled by family. Third aunt, if you complete this well, I will let you manage the straw fan production. Tang Nian painted a sweet picture for her. She had always planned for third aunt to manage the straw fan production. Huang Xiaodi's lost ambitions suddenly returned, her eyes shining with excitement, and she felt 20 years younger. She asked in disbelief, "Really let me manage the straw fans?" "Yes, but you need to prove yourself, so that the villagers respect you. Otherwise, even if I promote you, others won't accept it. Don't worry, when I was young, I was the best at any task in the village. Otherwise, your grandmother wouldn't have chosen me among many suitors. I'm not bragging. I'm the only one who can handle this job. Others can't." Huang Xiaodi patted her chest proudly, her spirits high. Tang Nian raised an eyebrow, now doubting if the women in Tang village all used the same script for bragging. Her grandmother, aunt, and several other women all claimed the same thing about their youth. I was the best at everything. She also remembered that her aunt and several women had married from the same village, all claiming to be the best. Who was lying? Tang Nian found it amusing. She asked her aunt to get money from the team leader to make 50 work uniforms and even drew the designs. Like this, with some embroidery on the shoes and pants. "I'll find a way for the fabric.
I'll go find someone right now."
Huang Xiaodi carefully examined the designs, loving them. She thought for a moment and said, "Nian, let's make one for you too. You'll look great in it." Tang Nian was taken aback and smiled, saying, "I don't need one. Make one for Sister Hongxing instead." "Why make one for her? I'm making one for you. Don't worry, I've decided." Huang Xiaodi's joy turned heavy upon hearing her daughter. Her affection for her daughter seemed to diminish daily, and she just wanted to marry off this ungrateful girl far away after Xian Chunrong found a wife. Tang Nian didn't argue and said, "Then make two, I'll pay."
"Deal."
Huang Xiaodi hurried off to find the team leader. "Man Shan, give me the money," as Nian said. With Tang Nian's instructions, Huang Xiaodi changed from her usual submissive self and stood tall in front of the team leader, speaking more boldly. "Have you eaten gunpowder?" The team leader looked at his wife suspiciously, thinking she must have eaten 3 pounds of it to have such a strong attitude. "Don't worry about what I eat. Just get the money. I need to help Nian with work. This is a big deal worth millions. Don't waste time." Huang Xiaodi spoke firmly, knowing that once she managed the straw fans, she'd be even more assertive. Upon hearing it was a matter of millions, the team leader didn't mind his wife's attitude and asked a few questions before heading to the finance office for the money. He also warned her, "Nian trusts you to handle this important task, so don't get carried away. Just because others praise you doesn't mean you should forget who you are. Am I that kind of person? Just watch, Tang Manshan. I can do this better than you. I'll complete this task perfectly." Huang Xiaodi put her hands on her hips and made a bold statement to her husband.
Who does she look down on?
She just hadn't had the chance to show her skills before. In terms of ability, she was no less capable than anyone else. This time, she was determined to impress the villagers. Huang Xiaodi huffed, lifted her head, and left with the money. The team leader laughed in frustration and complained to Tang Jianshu, who had just arrived. "Look at your mother. She thinks she can fly before her wings have grown. Just wait. She'll fall eventually. Dad, my mom is quite capable." Tang Jianshu thought his father was too full of himself. His mother was skillful and quick, making delicious food and even learning sewing and knitting on her own, proving her intelligence was definitely not lacking. She just hadn't had the opportunity to showcase her talents before. The team leader was momentarily speechless and glared at his son. He never said his wife couldn't do anything. He was just unhappy with her attitude towards him. And now that she was starting to take charge, he could foresee his future position in the family declining rapidly. Economic development was good, but women's tempers rising was not.
Sigh.
The team leader didn't dwell on his worries for long. He had too much work to do. Tang Niannian wanted to find 50 young girls to make straw fans, with the following requirements. They must know how to weave straw fans, have good looks, and not be too short. The village couldn't find enough, so the team leader went to other villages to gather the rest. When Tang Niannian received the notice, she went to see the 50 girls. They stood in 5 neat rows at the sock factory entrance, arranged by height, with Tang Jianshu directing them. The team leader had tried for a long time to organize them without success, so Tang Jianshu stepped in. The villagers watched from a distance, whispering like they were watching a show. The third girl from the left in the first row looks really pretty. I wonder if she has a good match yet? She's my niece. The woman speaking was beaming with pride. She had heard that the team leader was looking for young girls and rushed back to bring her niece to apply, and she was indeed selected. She glanced at the curious woman and said disdainfully, "My niece is beautiful and hardworking. In my village, she's one of the best. My brother and sister-in-law said that when she looks for a partner, the first requirement is to have a job, even if it's temporary. No job, no talk." Her words silenced several suitors interested in her niece, who turned their attention to other girls. The team leaders carefully selected 20 girls from other villages suddenly became very popular, with many families of eligible young men inquiring about them. Tang Niannian was satisfied after reviewing the 50 girls. They were temporarily set, not officially hired yet, but the girls were thrilled. The team leader quickly made a banner to hang at the village entrance, reading, "Warmly welcome respected leaders and guests to guide our work." He also invited a well-known band, which handled events for miles around, along with lion and dragon dance teams. In Tang Niannian's words, these were all unique to China and favored by foreigners. In less than 3 days, the work uniforms were ready. With a wage of 5 yuan, the women worked overtime, and Tang Niannian generously let them keep the leftover fabric scraps. These scraps were perfect for making shoe tops. As a result, the women put in their best effort, creating beautiful uniforms. Tang Niannian made 2 for herself, and was the first to try them on. When she wore them, everyone was stunned. "Looks great." Someone said this, and everyone else suddenly woke up, praising in unison. "The clothes are nice. Everyone should get a set." Tang Niannian was very pleased with the clothes and thought about making a few more outfits to wear with skirts. Everyone envied the 50 girls, each receiving a beautiful outfit without spending a penny. How wonderful! However, they weren't jealous because Tang Niannian promised that everyone would receive work clothes in the future. As long as they worked hard, new clothes and money would come, and life would get better. During this time, everyone in Tang Village was busy preparing to welcome foreign merchants. The city of Zhucheng even sent staff to guide them, worried that Tang Village might not handle the reception well and neglect the guests. "Captain Tang, come here." 2 staff members waved to the team leader with serious expressions. They were a man and a woman, supposedly there to guide the reception of foreign merchants, but once they arrived, they had little to do. The villagers listened to Tang Niannian and the team leader, ignoring them completely. "What can I do for you, leaders?" The team leader ran over, showing great respect. "Captain Tang, you're letting Comrade Tang Nian run wild, aren't you? Those flashy clothes are ridiculous." The higher-ups have repeatedly emphasized the need for simplicity and frugality, to remember hardship and cherish happiness. "Look at these clothes. They reflect the style of a capitalist lady. These are harmful and shouldn't be worn, especially in front of foreign guests. This is embarrassing for our country and for Zhu Cheng. The staff members finally found a chance to vent their frustrations, directing it all at the team leader. The team leader was confused by the criticism but didn't dare offend them, responding politely, "Leaders, how are these clothes capitalist poison? They don't show arms or legs, and the village's elderly women have dressed like this for decades." Just then, Grandma Tang walked over, and the team leader pointed her out to the staff. "Look, my aunt dresses like this. Where's the embarrassment?" Upon hearing the word embarrassment, Grandma Tang immediately became alert and watched the two staff members closely. "Captain Tang, do you think we're blind? This elderly woman's clothes are plain and unembellished, completely different from what you made. Don't try to mislead us. These clothes should not be worn to receive foreign guests. It's better to wear everyday clothes. There's no need for these flashy things. Simplicity and frugality are our traditions." The staff truly found the clothes unsightly and thought the villagers were too ignorant and needed to be shown their place. In short, they were using this issue to assert their authority. The team leader's face darkened. He wanted to argue back but didn't dare, as they were his superiors. Grandma Tang wasn't afraid. She didn't fully understand but got the gist. These two were opposing her granddaughter and saying her clothes were bad. Anyone who opposed Nian Nian couldn't be a good person. Grandma Tang didn't grasp the big picture. She only knew one principle. What Tang Nian Nian said was right. If you two want to promote simplicity and frugality, why are you wearing so many clothes in this heat? Being naked is cooler and saves fabric. You're wasting material and still have the nerve to talk about simplicity. Shame on you. Grandma Tang scolded loudly, nearly poking the male staff member in the eye. She wasn't afraid of these pretentious officials. She earned 18 yuan a month from her granddaughter, not from them. She wasn't scared at all. "You old woman, stop making a scene. Captain Tang, take her away." The two staff members were both angry and embarrassed, unable to act against Grandma Tang, so they lashed out at the team leader. The team leader pretended to grab Grandma Tang and said, "Aunt, they are leaders. You need to listen to them and stop causing trouble." Pfft. Just because they're leaders doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. Even emperors consulted their ministers before making decisions. Are they better than emperors? Get out of my way. Grandma Tang pushed the team leader aside, giving him no respect. The team leader pretended to stumble and limped away, silent. The two staff members were insulted and worried Grandma Tang might say something even bolder. They didn't dare compare themselves to emperors, fearing backlash. "I won't argue with you, you old bandit. These clothes must be changed, or I'll report you and punish Tang Village." The staff threatened angrily, feeling justified because the clothes were indeed too extravagant and didn't align with the policies. Furious, Grandma Tang moved to confront them, but was stopped. It was Tang Nian Nian. Someone had informed her. "Grandma, don't argue with them." Tang Nian Nian coldly looked at the two. The clothes were just an excuse. They were unhappy with the villagers' attitude and didn't respect them. They thought they could just come and take credit without doing anything. "You've worked hard. Take a good rest." Tang Nian Nian didn't want to waste words with them. With a swift motion, she knocked out the male staff member. The female staff member didn't even have time to scream before she was also knocked out. The team leader felt weak in his legs, trembling. This was like attacking a government official. That girl was too bold. They're still alive. They're breathing. Grandma Tang checked under their noses and immediately felt relieved. She gently patted Tang Nian Nian and scolded, "You've got guts, daring to hit officials. When they wake up, say it was me who hit them. Don't take the blame." "It's fine, don't worry." Tang Nian Nian was unconcerned. She was the one generating foreign exchange. As long as the leaders in Zhucheng had any sense, they would know what to do. She lifted one of each staff member and carried them away. Then she called the county office, directly reaching the top leader. Director Jia had a good relationship with the top leader in Zhucheng and had specifically told Tang Nian Nian to reach out to him, if needed. The top leader's surname was Xiong, named Xiong Chu Chu, a very gentle name, but he was a big, bearded man. When Tang Nian Nian saw him, she wanted to laugh. It was her first time seeing someone whose name and appearance were completely mismatched. He looked like a bear, but his name was charming, truly two extremes. Xiong Chu-chu was a few years younger than Director Jia. He had been appointed as the top leader in Zhuqing 2 years ago and hadn't achieved any notable political accomplishments yet. Director Jia said Xiong Chu-chu was eager to develop the economy and had an open mind. Tang Nian chatted with county head Xiong and found them to be on the same wavelength. Xiong Chu-chu was indeed visionary and ambitious, which is why she called him directly. "Hello, what's up, Xiao Tang?" Xiong Chu-chu answered the phone with a cheerful voice. "Uncle Xiong, the county sent 2 people to assist with the reception of foreign guests, but I knocked them out. Please take them back. I don't need assistance." Tang Nian was straightforward, demanding a return. Tang Nian really dislikes bureaucratic officials who speak in circles and take their time with tasks. With her fiery temper, she can't hold back, and if she loses control, it could end badly. Xiong Chu-chu paused for a moment and asked kindly, "What did they do?" "They said I was promoting capitalism and not being simple and frugal." "Uncle Xiong, I'm just making work uniforms for the workers. I can't have them dressed in rags when receiving foreign guests, can I? I know why they're causing trouble. They feel useless at work and think Tang Village is not giving them respect, which hurts their fragile pride. We can't afford to serve these 2 big shots, so take them back." Tang Nian pointed out the common problems with officials today, which is why she doesn't like dealing with them. They shout slogans louder than anyone, speak beautifully, but when something goes wrong, they shift blame and find scapegoats. No one ever takes responsibility. They downplay big issues and make small issues disappear. If they can't hide it, they find a temporary worker to take the fall. This bureaucratic attitude won't change in decades. It will only get worse. The village leader was sweating profusely, his handkerchief soaked. He shot several looks at Tang Nian, but it was useless. Tang Nian didn't even glance at him. The village leader felt dizzy, barely managing to stand by holding onto the table. This was bad. This disrespectful girl was facing County Chief Xiong. If the chief got angry, it would be disastrous for Tang Village. On the other end of the phone, Xiong Chu-chu's expression was serious as he contemplated Tang Nian's words. He had noticed these issues before and wanted to change things, but felt powerless. However, now there was hope. Foreign exchange was crucial for the country, and the latest conference emphasized that the main task was to develop the economy, especially foreign exchange. To put it simply, besides the major task of defending the country, foreign exchange is the most important thing. Everything else must take a back seat to it. "Little Tang, I want to apologize. I mishandled this matter. I will send someone to bring those 2 back, and send a new team. Don't worry. This time, the people I send will behave." Xiong Chu-chu sincerely acknowledged his mistake. "Send whoever you want, but I need to be clear. Don't interfere with my work. If I can secure foreign exchange orders on my own, I can handle the reception without outside interference." Tang Nian didn't refuse, but she made it clear that if he sent anyone clueless again, she would take action. The village leader swayed slightly, wiping his cold sweat. Xiong Chu-chu's laughter came through. "I know your abilities. Lao Jie praises you 100 times a day. Don't worry. No one will upset you." After hanging up, he called his secretary and instructed, "Go to Tang Village to assist Comrade Tang Nian in receiving foreign guests. Follow her lead and report to me daily." "Understood," the secretary replied. By evening, the secretary arrived in Tang Village, while the 2 workers returned to the county with grim faces. After seeing the work uniforms, the secretary called Xiong Chu-chu to report. The outfits are just colorful clothes with embroidered pants and shoes. Nothing inappropriate. Stay in Tang Village and avoid conflicts with Comrade Tang Nian. If you encounter any unsolvable issues, call me. Xiong Chu-chu's tone turned cold. After the 2 workers returned, they exaggerated their complaints, saying Tang Nian was acting like a capitalist and disrespecting great leaders. If it were another leader, they might have really blamed Tang Nian. He called the relevant department and sent those 2 workers to the most difficult grassroots work. Since they claimed to want to be simple and frugal, he would give them what they wanted. They had to work at the grassroots level for at least 3 years and perform excellently. Otherwise, they would stay there until retirement. The two workers barely settled in before receiving notice to go to the grassroots level. When they learned it was the most challenging mountain village in Zhucheng, they felt defeated. That rundown village was desolate, with no cars. Going there felt like going to a place from ancient times.
Who could work there?
They regretted it, but it was too late. Xiong Chu issued a strict order. They had to reach the grassroots level within 3 days, or they would face penalties. Once the secretary arrived in Tang Village, he quickly integrated with the villagers and showed great respect for Tang Nian, following her lead and rarely voicing opinions. Tang Nian was quite satisfied with him. Time flew by, and then a call came from Shang Guanjing. Tomorrow, Mr. Carl, Mr. Lewis, and several other foreign guests will come. Besides me and the accompanying translator, there will be 8 foreign guests interested in your products. Do we need to arrange accommodations? Tang Nian asked. She had only arranged rooms for Carl and Lewis, not expecting so many people. Not for now, they will only visit for a day. If they need to stay, they can return to the county, Shang Guanjing replied with a smile. All right, see you tomorrow. After hanging up, Tang Nian informed the village leader about this. The village leader then went to the office and used a loudspeaker to announce to the entire village, "Attention! Urgent notice. Tomorrow, leaders and foreign guests will visit our village. Everyone must clean up their homes. Clear away all the chicken and pig waste and remove any dog mess. Couples with conflicts, keep it to yourselves. If anyone embarrasses Tang Village tomorrow, don't blame me for being rude." The village was suddenly in an uproar. Are the foreigners really coming? With green eyes and yellow hair, eating raw meat. Keep the kids indoors. We don't want the foreigners to see them. The villagers reacted similarly, feeling both excited and nervous, with some fear that the foreigners might eat children. They had heard stories from the elders about foreigners eating children, which was terrifying. That day, everyone in Tang Village worked especially hard, cleaning their homes until they sparkled. Even the kids, usually seen sniffling, were scrubbed clean by adults and dressed in their best clothes, ready to greet the leaders and foreign guests with high spirits. Early the next morning, the villagers woke up on time. Those who worked went to their jobs, just like any other day. A few middle-aged women carried buckets of clothes to wash by the river. They had never gone so early to wash clothes before, but Tang Nian requested it to show the lifestyle of the Jiangnan water town. The villagers didn't understand what lifestyle meant, but they complied. Around 9 o'clock, several cars approached the village, kicking up dust. The women by the river and the men in the fields suddenly worked with renewed energy, their hose swinging high, sweat dripping into the soil. The women by the river pounded their clothes, splashing clear water everywhere, droplets hitting their sweaty faces. The sounds of splashing water, digging, and the laughter of women blended into a unique Jiangnan tune on that summer morning. A little distance from the village, Carl and Lewis looked out the car window and saw a beautiful scene. In the distance were lush green mountains, nearby a winding river, and fields of vibrant greenery with quiet paths. On a curved bridge, an old farmer wearing a straw hat walked slowly, leading an old yellow cow. Every villager wore a satisfied and happy smile. It was as beautiful as a painting, one that even the greatest artist could not capture in such vivid detail. How beautiful! Someone couldn't help but take out a camera and ask the driver to stop so they could take pictures by the roadside. What are the foreigners doing? A woman washing clothes in the river noticed the foreigners and was very curious about their cameras. They're taking pictures of us. Oh no, I'm not wearing my new floral shirt. I'll change my pose. Don't be nervous. Nian said to act normal. We can't let the foreigners see that we're pretending. Right, hurry and wash the clothes. The women quickly calmed down and stopped looking at the foreigners on the bridge. Although they found them curious, money was more appealing, and they needed to perform well to earn bonuses. Welcome. A warm welcome. The team leader, wearing a slightly worn blue shirt from a meeting at the commune, walked over confidently. He had practiced for half an hour at home, trying to walk in sync, and was teased by Huang Zhaodi for it. Tang Mantong and Tang Jianshu were also there. They were more composed than the team leader, but still nervous, with sweaty palms. Thank you for your hard work. Xiong Chuchu walked at the front, beaming, shaking hands with the villagers. Not hard at all, serving the people. The team leader shouted loudly, even louder than a loudspeaker. Tang Nian Nian led the band, lion dance team, and dragon dance team over. She shook hands with everyone, and when she reached a young girl, she paused in surprise. This beautiful girl with blonde hair and blue eyes looked just like Paua, as if she were a copy. Paua? Tang Nian Nian blurted out in Russian. You know me? The young girl looked surprised, studying Tang Nian Nian closely, feeling she looked familiar, even though it was her first time in China. Is your name also Paua? Tang Nian Nian wondered. This girl not only looked like Paua, but had the same name. Could it be that Paua had also come back? No, my name is. The young girl said a long name that made Tang Nian Nian dizzy, similar to how Paua introduced herself, with over 30 characters, finally shortening it to just Paua. What's your name? I feel like I've seen you before, Paua asked curiously. Tang Nian Nian's mouth twitched. That sounded very familiar. My name is Tang Nian Nian. Maybe we met in a dream. Tang Nian Nian joked, and everyone looked at them curiously, not understanding a word of their conversation. How could Nian Nian speak? Shangguan Jing came over and introduced Paua as a noble lady from Russia, which sounded impressive, and she had come with her uncle. Tang Nian Nian glanced at a man who looked like a bear, a typical warrior type. She thought about how Paua, looking like a Barbie doll, might become a balloon-like ant after having kids, and couldn't help but feel a bit sorry for her. Let's play music and dance. Tang Nian Nian waved her hand, giving the command. Joyful music started playing, and the lion dance and dragon dance teams began to move excitedly, with drums and gongs creating a lively atmosphere, even more festive than New Year's. The foreigners cheered and snapped photos nonstop. Emile also arrived, stubbornly following Louis, and immediately tried to claim Tang Nian Nian. She's my teacher. You go away. Nian Nian is my friend from a dream. You have to call me Aunt. Paua said seriously, taking advantage. She didn't know why, but she felt a strong connection to Tang Nian Nian, as if they were longtime friends. Paua and Emile were about the same age, but their minds were like those of 3-year-olds, making Tang Nian Nian's head hurt. She rolled her eyes at them, and they obediently fell silent. You two go play with Baisho and Fubao. Tang Nian Nian, annoyed with the two childish ones, sent them off with Tang Jujin to play in the mountains. Maybe we shouldn't go. Safety first. Xiong Chuchu worried. What if something happened? It's fine, there are dogs watching. Tang Nian Nian reassured him. With Baisho and Fubao around, the mountains were safer than anywhere else. Xiong Chuchu wanted to argue more, still uneasy, but Louis and Paoa's uncle had no objections. They exchanged knowing glances with Fubao, who was clearly a wolf. This girl named Tang Nian Nian could tame wild wolves, so she was clearly not ordinary, and safety was assured. With the parents having spoken, Xiong Chuchu had no choice but to agree, though he insisted on having a secretary follow them. After the lion and dragon dances finished, Tang Nian Nian finally took them to tour the workshop, starting with the bamboo weaving workshop. The skilled craftsmen were focused on their work, and the arrival of the foreigners didn't disturb them. The workshop was quiet, and aside from the sounds of work, the foreigners instinctively held their breath, quietly taking photos. These are beautiful. I want to order a batch. A female foreigner picked up several bamboo crafts, unable to put them down. Miss Chris, the delivery time needs to be extended. Someone has already placed an order, and the delivery is scheduled for next summer, Tang Nian Nian explained. Summer is fine. I have no problem with that. The female foreigner felt regretful but had no choice and still wanted to sign the contract. Other foreigners also expressed their desire to place orders, captivated by the beautiful and delicate bamboo crafts, knowing they would be very popular and sell for high prices back home. Tang Nian Nian skillfully negotiated with these foreigners, while others could only watch her handle 10 conversations at once without needing a translator. What's Nian Nian saying? It sounds like a foreign language, someone whispered. Don't talk. Nian Nian is discussing important matters. Focus on your work. Tang Laotai shot a stern look, and everyone obediently lowered their heads to work, not daring to murmur anymore. In just the bamboo weaving workshop, they secured an order worth 350,000, with Tang Nian Nian's prices slightly higher than those for Carl and Louis, but she didn't raise the price for Pao's uncle. Pao is my friend, so I'll give you a discount, Tang Nian Nian stated directly. Pao's uncle chuckled in disbelief. His niece had been insisting on coming to China, claiming she dreamed of a beautiful Chinese girl and wanted to find her. The family thought she was joking, but it turned out to be true. Fate truly is a wonderful thing. Perhaps this Miss Tang has a connection with his niece from a past life. Shangguan Jing remained calm, but the translator was shocked and speechless. He had previously assisted in foreign trade and knew that foreign clients could be very picky. Why were they so easy to negotiate with when it came to Tang Nian Nian? And was this price really acceptable? Comrade Shangguan, is this price a bit high? The translator asked, concerned. That's the normal price, don't worry. Shangguan Jing smiled slightly, her expression mysterious. She had seen it all before. Even if Tang Nian Nian doubled the price, she wouldn't be surprised. The captain and Tang Mantong, who didn't understand foreign languages, were anxious and eager to know what Tang Nian Nian was discussing with the foreigners. It seemed like good news, right? Go ask that lady what Nian Nian said. The captain nudged Tang Mantong. Why should I ask? Can't you do it? Tang Mantong glanced at Shangguan Jing, feeling a bit intimidated. She resembled his elementary school teacher. He was fearless as a child, except when it came to that teacher. You're good with words and brave. Hurry up and ask. The captain praised him, making Tang Mantong feel a bit proud, and he unconsciously took a few steps toward Shangguan Jing. But soon he realized that the closer he got, the more she reminded him of his teacher, and he quickly turned around. Are you scared? The captain looked at him with disdain and scoffed. That scoff was powerful enough to ignite Tang Mantong's blood. He strode up to Shangguan Jing and smiled. Comrade, I'm Tang Nian Nian's uncle. What did she discuss with the foreigners? Shangguan Jing, a head shorter than him, looked up and said seriously, we talked about a 350,000 order. Tang Mantong shivered. This lady not only looked like his teacher but also spoke in a similar tone. He felt like he was back in elementary school, being scolded by his teacher, and his ears truly hurt. Thank you, I understand. Tang Mantong forced a smile and quickly returned to stand beside the captain. Shangguan Jing looked at him curiously. Tang Nian Nian's uncle seemed odd. Why was he trembling? Nian Nian secured a 350,000 order. We'll be working overtime every day now. Once he regained his composure, Tang Mantong excitedly shared the good news with the captain. The trade fair hadn't even started, and Nian Nian had already negotiated nearly $1 million in orders. They wouldn't have to worry about work for the next 2 years. I'm not afraid of overtime. Everyone is willing to work extra as long as there's work. The captain rubbed his hands together in joy, envisioning a prosperous future for Tang Village. Every household would have a big bowl of meat on the table, and the elderly and children would wear new clothes, happily gathered around eating meat and watching TV, living a better life ahead of time. It was wonderful. Leading the foreigners, Tang Nian Nian entered the workshop for the wheat straw fans. As they reached the entrance, their eyes brightened at the sight of a group of young, beautiful girls in traditional Chinese attire, sitting and weaving. Ordinary wheat straw was transformed into beautiful round fans by the girls' skilled hands, while some were embroidering, each movement flowing gracefully, like a painting. The foreigners were captivated, their cameras flashing. They had heard about the beauty of Jiangnan but had no concrete idea until now. It was stunning. Tang Nian Nian smiled, knowing the foreigners would love this. I want to order a batch of these fans. I want some too. The foreigners all wanted to order wheat straw fans. The natural straw, beautiful girls, and unique embroidery struck a chord with them. They loved these things. Thus, Tang Nian negotiated an additional 200,000 order for the fans, with the delivery date pushed to next year. The captain, now experienced, nudged Tang Mantong and whispered, "They must have negotiated another big order. Go ask that lady how much this time." "Why do I have to ask again?" "You go." Tang Mantong was unhappy. Just seeing Shang Guanjing made him want to run away. His fear of teachers was deeply ingrained. "Are you scared?" The captain teased him, but he wouldn't admit it. He felt intimidated by Shang Guanjing, who looked younger than him yet was more serious than the commune leader, making him uneasy. "Who's scared?" "I've traveled everywhere and met many people. I'm not afraid of a young girl." Despite his bravado, as he approached Shang Guanjing, that deep-seated fear returned. He fought the urge to run and forced a smile, asking, "Comrade, did you negotiate another order?" Shang Guanjing glanced at him, her expression slightly puzzled. Although it was hot in September, the room was still cool. This uncle looked young but seemed very weak, sweating profusely. 200,000. Shang Guanjing nodded and asked with concern, "Can your production keep up?" "Absolutely no problem," Tang Mantong confidently assured her. If they needed more hands, they would recruit from other villages. With money so close, they would work hard to earn it. Shang Guanjing felt relieved and smiled slightly. Tang Mantong couldn't help but look at her again, thinking to himself that she looked nice when she smiled, but she was too serious. Her husband must be very strong-willed. Shang Guanjing appeared to be around 27 or 28, an age when most women are married. Tang Mantong assumed she was married. He returned to the captain to share the good news. The captain was so happy he wanted to sing but held back. With foreigners present, he had to be a bit reserved. After touring all the workshops, the foreigners were very satisfied, but still wanted more. "Miss Tang, I heard a song from your country called Jiangnan. It goes like this. In Jiangnan, one can pick lotus. The lotus leaves are so green. Fish play among the lotus leaves, swimming east and west, north and south." A foreign man sang the Jiangnan tune in broken Chinese. Although he was off-key, he sang earnestly, and Tang Nian listened attentively until he finished. "Miss Tang, is the scene described in this song real?" The foreign man asked sincerely. "It is real." Tang Nian nodded. The man looked delighted and earnestly asked, "Can I see this beautiful scene?" "Of course. You came at the right time. It's the lotus-picking season. Please take a short break while I arrange it." Tang Nian agreed. After all, the customer is king, and she would surely meet this small request. The water town of Jiangnan is abundant with lotus ponds. Although the peak blooming season had passed, there were still some flowers, and the leaves were lush with lotus pods, making it a perfect time for a visit. She asked Tang Jianshu to lead the foreigners for tea and snacks, which included freshly made wheat flowers, sweet dumplings, dried sweet potatoes, and spring rolls, both savory and sweet. During the 7th month, they made sweet dumplings, and during the Dragon Boat Festival, they fried wheat flowers. Tang Nian found the captain and asked him to arrange a few small boats and some young men who could swim to accompany the foreigners to the lotus pond. "That's too dangerous. What if someone falls in and gets hurt?" Xiong Chu was the first to object, and other officials agreed. Water can be unforgiving, and the lotus pond was quite deep. They couldn't take responsibility if something went wrong. "It's impossible for anything to go wrong, I promise." But no matter how much Tang Nian insisted, the officials disagreed, making her impatient. She exclaimed, "They are not children. They are all adults. How could anything happen in a small lotus pond? Even if someone falls in, there will be help. If you keep worrying about every little thing, you will never make progress." The officials looked displeased, feeling strongly against Tang Nian. They thought the young girl was too reckless and didn't understand the serious consequences if something happened in Ju City. In the end, Xiong Chu made the final decision, saying, "We will do it as Comrade Tang suggests. If anything happens, I will take full responsibility." Comrade Tang was right. If you keep worrying, you will never improve. As long as everything is arranged properly, there should be no problems. The team leader borrowed a few small boats from the neighboring village, adding to the ones from Tang village, totaling 8 boats, each carrying 2 people, a boatman and a strong lifeguard. The pond in Tang village wasn't large, so they went to the bigger pond in the neighboring village, which was about 10 acres, full of lush lotus leaves and beautiful lotus flowers. Young lotus seeds were a childhood snack. The car stopped at the village entrance and many villagers gathered around. When they saw the blonde, blue-eyed foreigners, they were amazed. They are really foreigners, with yellow hair and green eyes. Do they really eat raw meat? There's not much hair. Who said foreigners have more hair than monkeys? You don't understand anything. They must have shaved it all off. Uncle Qingshan from Tang village has been to Shanghai, and he wouldn't be wrong. Foreigners are really ugly. We look better. The villagers chattered excitedly, their voices growing louder. Luckily, they were speaking in their dialect, so the foreigners couldn't understand. Xiong Chu Chu asked the commune officials to find the village leaders. Even if the foreigners couldn't understand, it was still rude to say such things in front of them. Soon, the villagers were scolded away by the village leaders and dared not approach the foreigners again. However, they didn't go back to work, standing at a distance to watch, as it was rare to see real foreigners and they wanted to take it all in for bragging rights later. The foreigners boarded the small boats, moving through the lotus leaves, picking lotus flowers and seed pods. Tang Nian peeled a few tender green lotus seeds, removed the cores, and popped them into her mouth. The young lotus seeds were sweet and delicious, one of her childhood snacks. Can we eat this? Boa, like a curious child, wanted to nibble on everything, even the dogtail grass. Tang Nian mischievously put a lotus seed with the core still intact into her mouth. Boa bit into it, then scrunched her face, embarrassed to spit it out, and swallowed it with difficulty. It's so bitter and not tasty. Boa shook her head vigorously, looking at the lotus seed with disdain. It wasn't as good as the wild fruits picked by Jiojin Mei Mei, and the mountains were much more fun, with delicious treats everywhere. Tang Nian couldn't help but laugh, her smile bright and beautiful, even more so than the lotus flowers in the pond. Boa stared in awe, feeling like she had seen this scene in a dream, and blurted out, "I dreamed of this place." Are you trying to be like Jia Baoyu? That's something men say to women. Emil was also on the boat, leaning over to play with the water. He scoffed at her comment, as he had long stopped saying such things. They sounded too cheesy. You know about Dream of the Red Chamber? Tang Nian was a bit surprised. This silly kid had quite a literary background. Many young people in China hadn't read Dream of the Red Chamber. I've also read Journey to the West, Water Margin, and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I've read quite a few Chinese stories, but I prefer martial arts novels. Emil's eyes lit up when he mentioned martial arts novels, and he even acted out his flying flower and leaf techniques. However, he forgot he was on a boat, and with a little too much enthusiasm, the boat rocked, almost tipping him into the water. Tang Nian quickly grabbed him and pushed him down, scolding, "Sit still." Emil chuckled as the small boat passed through the dense lotus leaves, revealing a blooming lotus flower. He reached out to pick it and handed it to Tang Nian, saying, "A flower for a Buddha." Tang Nian accepted it and casually handed it to Boa, looking at Emil with newfound respect. This boy was quite knowledgeable about Chinese literature and knew many idioms and stories, though he was a bit immature. She put the lotus seeds without the cores into Boa's mouth. Although the child disliked bitterness, she still chewed on it, and to her surprise, it became sweeter and didn't taste bitter at all. This is delicious. Why are some sweet and some bitter? Do they change flavor? Boa was extremely curious and picked another seed pod, wanting to see what was different. How can you be so silly and not admit it? The bitter ones are like this. Remove the core and they become sweet. It's my first time in China. It's normal not to know. You've lived here for many years, so knowing isn't something to brag about. Even if you lived here for decades, you might not know considering your intelligence. Emil shrugged, leaving his sentence unfinished, but the meaning was clear. Do you want to die? Boa was furious and pushed him hard. Emil was caught off guard and fell backward into the water. Help him. Xiong Chu Chu on the front boat was startled and shouted for help, but Louis remained calm, knowing his nephew was a good swimmer.
A small pond like this was no problem.
Before the lifeguard could jump in, Emile surfaced, splashing water all over Boa, who then jumped into the water too. The two silly kids began a playful water fight, having a blast. Xiong Chu Chu and the other officials were worried, but the parents were quite relaxed, enjoying the beautiful scenery without paying attention to the two kids. After more than an hour of playing in the lotus pond, the foreigners were very pleased. Boa and Emile were even happier, refusing to come ashore, and were finally dragged up by their parents. Although the first day of the visit had some small surprises, it ended well, and both sides were satisfied. The next day, Tang Nian took the foreigners to Wu City to visit a hairpin factory. The leaders of Wu City had been waiting, and as the foreigners rushed to sign orders, the leaders smiled widely. The hairpin factory signed an order worth 500,000, with production scheduled until the end of next year. After the visit, the foreigners returned directly to Shanghai, hugging Tang Nian one by one as they left. However, Emile and Boa stubbornly refused to go, insisting on staying. To show how determined they were, they both clung tightly to a car door, and two adults couldn't pry them loose. "No, I want to stay at Nian's house. I'm not going back to Shanghai." Boa shook her head vigorously, disliking Shanghai and preferring the fun in Tang Village. She liked Nian, Jiujin Mei, and also Baisho and Fubao. "I want to learn flying flowers and picking leaves from my master." Emile's reason was even more childish. He simply didn't want to go back to school. Sitting in a classroom was too torturous for him. He loved the mountains and rivers of Tang Village and could sleep in, living a fairy tale life. In the end, both sets of parents agreed to let them stay for another week, and Tang Nian promised to personally take them back after that. Louis and Boa's uncle left living expenses, giving Tang Laotai a stack of money, adding up to over 1,000. "You don't need this much. How much can you eat in a week? Take it back." Tang Laotai tried to return the money, but Emile and Boa held her hand down. The two children looked eagerly at the old lady, sweetly asking, "Grandma, please make us something delicious, like that sweet red bean cake. And we want green sweet dumplings and fried pancakes. I want to eat them all." Although these two didn't get along well, they surprisingly shared the same taste. They both loved sweets. The red bean cake they mentioned is a type of sweet cake, the green dumplings are a traditional treat, and the fried pancakes are spring rolls. Old Lady Tang didn't understand the foreign words, so Tang Nian translated for her. She laughed heartily, saying, "Grandma will definitely make them for you. You can have as much as you want. With so much money, even the emperor would have enough to eat. She would surely make delicious meals every day." The other villagers were extremely envious, but they could only feel envy since none of them had a successful granddaughter. Not only did the leaders like her, but even foreigners adored her. Nian was just too lovable. Bova and Emile moved into the Tang family home, and Tang Nian didn't give them special treatment. She just cleaned their room, washed the bedding, and let the sun dry it before settling them in. Having received a large amount of living expenses, Old Lady Tang was especially warm and kind to the two children, making them delicious food every day. She brought out her lifelong cooking skills, and the Tang family enjoyed good meals every day. A week later, Tang Nian personally took the two chubby kids back to Shanghai and handed them over to their parents. Bova was reluctant to leave, hugging her arm tightly. "Be good. There are many tasty foods in Yangcheng. You can eat them there." Tang Nian firmly pried her hand away. After spending time together, she was sure that Bova was indeed the ancestor of the Bova she knew. "Study hard and don't fall in love too early," Tang Nian couldn't help but remind her. In her past life, she had heard Bova mention that her ancestor was a love-struck person who married a scoundrel at 17 or 18, getting cheated and almost losing her life. Fortunately, Bova's family was strong and loved her dearly. After facing a major setback, Bova's romantic mindset faded, and she transformed into a successful businesswoman, inheriting and expanding the family business. Later, she found true love, had children, and lived a happy life. Wait, what was the name of Bova's true love again? Something flashed in Tang Nian-Nian's mind, but she couldn't grasp it. She only remembered that this true love was an American, a famous Hollywood director who made many classic films. I won't fall in love too early. Men are too weak. Bova thought Tang Nian-Nian was worrying for nothing. How could those weak men ever win her heart? If it were Nian-Nian, she might actually feel something. Too bad Nian-Nian was a girl.
Sigh. Tan Nian pouted.
Those who were love-struck often talked big. She pinched Bova's soft face a few times. It felt nice. See you at the Canton Fair.
Bye.
Tang Nian-Nian waved and walked away quickly. Calculating the time, the Canton Fair training should be starting soon. As soon as she got home, she saw Aunt Zhang wandering at the door. When she saw Tang Nian-Nian, Aunt Zhang sighed in relief and smiled. Tang Nian-Nian led her inside, gave her the front door key, and showed her around the house. The attic doesn't need cleaning, and you can eat anything in the kitchen. I usually eat out, so don't worry about my meals. Just keep place tidy. Okay. Aunt Zhang agreed readily, without asking more questions. Tang Nian-Nian was quite satisfied with her straightforward nature. She gave her some money and returned to her room. Aunt Zhang was a social butterfly. In less than a week, she got to know all the neighbors. She even tilled the yard, planted vegetable seeds, and after getting Tang Nian-Nian's permission, brought in a few chicks to raise. She visited neighbors whenever she had free time and felt very fulfilled every day. The Autumn Canton Fair opened on October 15th. Tang Nian-Nian received a notice to stay at a hotel with other representatives for training. Representatives from Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai all gathered in Shanghai for training, including Tang Nian-Nian and Zhou Guoqing, who represented the hairpin factory. The training lasted a week, focusing on memorizing phrases. They needed to know them perfectly because at the Canton Fair, they would be tested. If they couldn't recite the phrases, they would lose their eligibility to attend. Even foreign participants had to memorize the phrases, but the requirements for them were a bit lower. At that moment, Tang Jinglin's family had already arrived in Yangcheng, and they were also memorizing phrases. In the VIP room of the hotel they were staying at, there was a graceful old lady who was also studying the phrases. The old lady looked to be in her 40s or 50s, slim and well-preserved, showing no signs of being over 60.
Miss, please take a break.
The doctor said not to overwork yourself. The maid stepped forward to advise her, looking worried. It's fine. I'll memorize a bit more. I feel like I'm getting worse every year. I used to read so quickly, but now I forget right after memorizing.
Sigh.
Zhao Fenghua put down the phrases, took off her reading glasses, and sipped the tea the maid handed her. Madam, with your looks, people would think you are my sister. The maid, Cui Jie, flattered her, moving behind Zhao Fenghua to massage her head. She had served Zhao Fenghua for 30 years and had never married. Stop flattering me. I'm 65. How much younger can I get? Cui, don't you want to get married? Zhao Fenghua leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes to rest, but her brow furrowed, showing her worries. She had lived a more exciting life than most, and she wasn't afraid of death, but she wanted to settle two things before she died. First, she wanted to find her son and give him the wealth she had saved all her life. Second, she wanted to arrange a good marriage for her close friend, Cui Jie. Once these two matters were settled, she would have no regrets in death. Miss, I don't want to get married.
What's so good about men?
I'll just stick with you, Cui Jie replied firmly. She had seen through men's true nature. 9 out of 10 were scoundrels, and the one good man wouldn't choose her. Even a woman as exceptional as the miss couldn't find a trustworthy man for life. How could a plain maid like her expect to marry a good man? Zhao Fenghua smiled and didn't bring up marriage again. She never forced anyone. If Cui didn't want to marry, then she wouldn't. She would leave some money for Cui's retirement. I'll memorize a bit more. Zhao Fenghua perked up, ready to continue memorizing the phrases. This was her first time attending the Canton Fair, and she had heard that failing to memorize the phrases could lead to being removed from the participant list. She couldn't let that happen. I wonder if Jinglin will come? Zhao Fenghua sighed, speaking to herself. When she was younger, she hadn't thought much about her son. When she left Jinglian's father, although she was a bit impulsive, it wasn't just a rash decision. She was seeking freedom and dignity, which Jinglian's father couldn't provide. At that time, she didn't have to marry Jinglian's father. There were other better options. But Jinglian's father deceived her, claiming he had divorced his first wife. She was too young and believed him, naively marrying him. It was only after she got pregnant that she discovered he hadn't divorced at all. His first wife had just been sent to live in the suburbs. When she got pregnant, he finally told her. At that moment, she wanted to leave, but with a big belly, it was inconvenient to go anywhere, and she felt unwilling. She wanted to make some money before leaving. When Jinglin was 3 years old, Zhao Fenghua gave up completely and separated from that man. Fortunately, he had a conscience and gave her a large sum of money, but he made a cruel request. She was not allowed to see her son again. At that time, Zhao Fenghua hated the man for his heartlessness and even felt a bit resentful towards her son, so she agreed. Of course, she knew that while the man was cruel to her, he truly cared for their son. It was better for their son to be with his father than with her. With the money, she went to Europe and never saw her son again. She later learned that the heartless man had passed away. The Tang family was scattered due to the war, and she found out that her son was left in Hu City. At that time, the mainland was chaotic, and she couldn't find any news about him. She even worried about whether her son was. "Miss, the young master will definitely be fine," Sister Cui comforted her. She had never seen the young master, but knew that Zhao Fenghua often looked at his photos and cried. She hoped that the gods would bless them, allowing the mother and son to reunite. However, Zhao Fenghua was not so optimistic. Mainly, her time was running out. She had confirmed that she was in the late stages of cancer, and the surgery had not worked well. The doctor said she might only have a year left, or even less. She regretted leaving her son out of anger all those years ago, which led to their separation for decades. Her son must resent her, right? Zhao Fenghua sighed again. She didn't want her son's forgiveness. She just wanted to see him one last time and give him her inheritance. There was a knock on the door. Sister Cui opened it to find a lively old gentleman who looked like a wealthy gentleman, with good manners and a refined demeanor. "Miss, it's Mr. Hans." Sister Cui let him in. Mr. Hans had been a good friend of the miss for many years. "Fenghua, it's time for dinner. Shall we go out to eat?" The old man spoke fluent Chinese with a slight accent. "Just a moment. Let me get ready." Zhao Fenghua smiled and went to change clothes. Mr. Hans waited outside, chatting with Sister Cui, asking about Zhao Fenghua's condition, her appetite, sleep, and mood. Sister Cui answered everything and said, "Mr. Hans, you should ask the miss directly, so she knows your feelings." Mr. Hans had pursued Zhao Fenghua for over 10 years, but she always rejected him, saying she was not suitable for marriage and didn't want to hurt a good man. But Sister Cui thought Mr. Hans was a good match. After being alone for so many years, Zhao Fenghua should find a reliable man to share her life with, and Mr. Hans was quite suitable. "I've told you, Fenghua has rejected me." Mr. Hans sighed but quickly smiled. "I will keep trying. Don't bother. I have less than a year to live. If you marry me, you'll become a widower." Zhao Fenghua changed into a light purple qipao. She was slender, but not too thin, and looked especially beautiful in the dress. Mr. Hans was momentarily stunned, his face turning slightly red. Even after seeing her for decades, seeing her dressed up made his heart race, as if he were young again. "Don't say such gloomy things. I've contacted Dr. Mellis. He has successful cases with patients like you." Mr. Hans was unhappy. He didn't want to hear that. Zhao Fenghua smiled and changed the subject. "Let's go. I'll take you to eat delicious food. You couldn't finish all the delicacies in Yang City in a month. That would be an honor." Mr. Hans walked ahead, occasionally looking back to see if Zhao Fenghua was following. "Just go ahead. I know this place better than you." Zhao Fenghua teased, as she had lived in Yang City for a few years and was quite familiar with it. Sister Cui supported her while waiting for the elevator, and Mr. Hans stood nearby. "Mom, Dad, hurry up.
I'm Stadovin.
A lively voice came from nearby. Just from the voice, it was clear it was a cheerful young boy. Zhao Fenghua couldn't help but look back, catching a glimpse of a bouncing figure, but she couldn't see the boy's face before the elevator doors opened. There were originally 3 people in the elevator, and with Zhao Fenghua and her companions, it became 6, making it a bit crowded. We'll wait for the next one. There are too many people in this elevator. Tang Chongfeng ran over and, seeing the crowd, turned to shout. The elevator doors slowly closed, and Zhao Fenghua's face gradually disappeared from view. Tang Chongfeng glanced at her, but didn't pay much attention. However, he quickly turned back and locked eyes with Zhao Fenghua just as the door shut. Tang Jinglin's family also arrived. Just now, there was a beautiful and elegant lady in the elevator. She must have been stunning when she was young, and she looked amazing in a qipao. Tang Chongfeng couldn't help but share his recent discovery, praising Zhao Fenghua. He had never seen a woman who looked so beautiful in a qipao. Even his mother, Mu Xiulian, couldn't compare to her. Is she more beautiful than Mom? Tang Chongchuan teased his brother. Of course. As soon as Tang Chongfeng said this, he felt a chill down his back. He shivered and quickly corrected himself. Of course not. In my heart, the most beautiful women are Mom and my little sister. Mu Xiulian shot him a glare. Her youngest son was lively, but seemed a bit lacking in intelligence, easily falling into traps he set for himself. He had been quite clever as a child, but why was he getting more foolish as he grew up? She glared at her husband and poked him, thinking it must have been the medicine he gave their youngest son during their journey across the sea 17 years ago that made him a bit slow. 17 years ago, their family took a boat across the sea. Although Tang Chongchuan was only 5, he was steady and quiet the whole way, while 3-year-old Tang Chongfeng was confused. They worried he might make noise and attract attention, so they had given him a calming medicine beforehand. Tang Chongfeng slept soundly throughout the journey and didn't wake up until they reached the other side. They didn't know if the medicine was too strong, but since then, he hadn't been as sharp as before. Zhao Fenghua and Tang Jinglin's family, meeting each other without recognizing one another, perfectly missed each other. In Hu City, Tang Nian encountered a small problem. She was arranged to stay in a hotel, waking up every day at 8 to memorize quotes and finishing by 5, just like a job. After a week, someone would come to assess her, and those who couldn't recite would be disqualified from attending the meeting. Tang Nian shared a room with 2 older women, one named Wang Lingling and the other Li Fengfeng, both older than her. Wang Lingling was from the Eastern Factory, and Li Fengfeng was from another factory. Both were locals from Hu City, and had a natural sense of superiority. People from Hu City were not only exclusive, but also had regional discrimination against each other. People from Puxi looked down on those from Pudong because Puxi was considered the upper class, while Pudong was seen as lower. There was a saying, better to have a bed in Puxi than a room in Pudong. This was the true reflection of the local people's attitudes in Hu City. Puxi girls wouldn't even consider dating Pudong boys, and Pudong boys wouldn't dare to pursue Puxi girls. The river between them felt like an ocean separating them. This was the case in the 70s and 80s. Pudong developed later. Tang Nian, an outsider, is seen as a bumpkin by the 2 girls from Puxi. They look down on her without hesitation. Li Fengfeng and Wang Lingling always eat together, study together, and shop together, never including Tang Nian, making their exclusion very obvious. Other girls might feel hurt, but not Tang Nian. She prefers to ignore irrelevant people. However, even if she ignores them, some clueless people still approach her. On the 3rd day of training, a group of people wearing red armbands burst into the hotel. They are from the Cutting the Tail group. We received a report that someone is hiding banned books. The leading man, in his 40s and tall, is the deputy director of the Cutting the Tail group, named Yu Tietjiang. He is also the brother-in-law of Su Laifeng and the uncle of the factory director. Tang Nian is unaware of these connections, but senses that these people are not friendly and are targeting her. She glanced at Wang Lingling and Li Fengfeng. Li Fengfeng seemed unfazed, while Wang Lingling appeared more excited and a bit nervous, her fists clenched instinctively. Wang Lingling seemed to be anticipating something, but was also scared. Tang Nian secretly sneered. If she guessed correctly, most of the banned books were likely in her bed or suitcase. Just as foolish and malicious as Lu Jinglan.
Keep it down.
There are many foreign guests here. Don't embarrass yourselves. Director Jie stepped out, exuding authority. Someone reported that there are banned books here, and there are suspicions of treason. This is serious. I will conduct a thorough investigation. Yu Tietjiang spoke harshly, with strong reasoning. Investigate, but be gentle. Don't scare the foreign guests. Director Jie couldn't refuse. If there were real spies, he couldn't escape blame either. Rest assured. Yu Tietjiang smirked, his gaze shifting toward Tang Nian. Indeed, she was beautiful. Even more so than in the photos. Her two brothers-in-law hadn't lied. They had told him everything was arranged, and Tang Nian would definitely not escape. Yu Tietjiang felt impatient. In just a few seconds, he thought of a good plan. A young girl like Tang Nian would surely be frightened. As soon as they found the banned items, she would be terrified. He would take her back, then comfort her gently, and she would willingly lean into him. He always had patience for beautiful women and didn't like to use force, but if the beauty was ungrateful, he wouldn't hold back. Tang Nian stepped back from the crowd, but was stopped after just a few steps. Stay in your rooms. No one is allowed to go out. Yu Tietjiang's men guarded the entrance, preventing anyone from coming or going. I need to use the restroom.
Tang Nian shouted.
I need to go too. Zhou Guoqing chimed in, along with Tang Jianshu and Tang Mantong. Though they didn't know what Nian was up to, they had to cooperate. When the four of them called out, others felt a bit of pressure in their stomachs and also requested to go to the restroom. Yu Tietjiang didn't dare to keep them locked up, so he allowed them to go one by one, sending someone to follow. Tang Nian went first, followed closely by a female member of the Cutting the Tail group, watching her like a prisoner. Ouch, my stomach hurts. Tang Nian pressed her stomach and hurried into the restroom, releasing a foul-smelling fart. The female officer, about to follow her in, was overwhelmed by the smell and quickly covered her nose, retreating outside. Tang Nian shut the door, rushed to the windowsill, and noticed it was the second floor with no one outside. She released Bai Sui and instructed it on what to do. Woof.
Got it.
Bai Sui proudly raised its head, showing that it was reliable in critical moments. It leaped from the windowsill like lightning, almost leaving no shadow behind. Tang Nian was on the third floor. The door was locked, but the window was open. Bai Sui jumped directly from the second-floor window to the third, quickly hopping from room to room until it found its owner's room. It sniffed around the suitcase and detected a strange smell that didn't belong to its owner. Using its paws, it dug out a letter with messy handwriting that Bai Sui couldn't read. After searching the room again and finding nothing else, it only had that letter. Following Tang Nian's instructions, Bai Sui stuffed the letter under Wang Lingling's bedding and carefully smoothed the sheets, making it look untouched. A few minutes later, Bai Sui returned to the restroom.
Woof.
I found a letter and put it on the ugly woman's bed. Well done. Now go back and remember to harvest the crops. Tang Nian praised it but also reminded Bai Sui to work. There was plenty of farming to do in the space.
Woof.
Get lost. Bai Sui grumbled as it entered the space, complaining about always being assigned work, more heartless than Zhou Bapi. Despite its complaints, Bai Sui went to harvest the crops, its sharp claws more effective than a sickle. With a gentle swipe, the ears fell to the ground, and Fubao followed behind, gathering them up. The couple worked seamlessly together, achieving great results. Are you done yet? The female officer outside grew impatient and entered the restroom, only to be hit by the foul odor again, cursing Tang Nian for being pretty, but having a terrible smell. Almost done. Ouch, my stomach really hurts. Tang Nian groaned a few times and finally emerged from the restroom after a while. The female officer instinctively stepped back, her eyes filled with disdain. When they returned to the training room, Tang Nian sat quietly, not saying a word. Yu Tietjiang and his team searched room by room. After more than half an hour, they reached Tang Nianyan's room, and she, along with Wang Lingling and Li Fongfong, followed. Wang Lingling was excited, her palms sweating from nervousness. The factory director promised her that if this went well, she would be promoted after the trade fair, and her salary would increase. Li Fongfong was also nervous. It was her first time dealing with the Cutting the Tail group, and she felt scared. "Leader, this is my bed. This is Tang Nianyan's, and this is Li Fongfong's." Wang Lingling confidently introduced the beds. Yu Tietjiang glanced at Tang Nianyan, smiling coldly. "Confess and you'll be treated leniently. Resist and you'll face harsh consequences. As long as you're honest, even if you confess, you'll get a lighter punishment." "I haven't done anything wrong. I just work diligently." Li Fongfong shook her head vigorously, cold sweat dripping down. "I also work hard and often receive praise from the leaders." Wang Lingling said loudly. "Just search already. Stop with the nonsense." Tang Nianyan spoke impatiently, crossing her arms. Wang Lingling felt secretly pleased, daring to confront the Cutting the Tail group like that. Once they found that letter, Tang Nianyan would definitely be in trouble. She had no grudge against Tang Nianyan, but this woman had offended the factory director. Yu Tietjiang personally searched, first pretending to check Li Fongfong's bed, shaking the bedding and sheets a few times, finding nothing suspicious. Li Fongfong sighed in relief and wiped her sweat. Then he searched Tang Nianyan's bed, shaking for a long time without finding anything. The suitcase was the same. He rummaged through the clothes, including intimate garments, scattering them everywhere. Yu Tietjiang even squeezed a few items, acting particularly lewd. Tang Nianyan's cold aura radiated fiercely. Good. This jerk was doomed. Wang Lingling's face grew darker. She had personally placed the items in the suitcase, so why hadn't they been found after such a long search? Yu Taiqiang also looked troubled. His brother-in-law had told him everything was arranged, and the items were in the suitcase. What was going on? Why does it take so long to search my things when it only takes a few minutes to search others? Is Deputy Director Yu taking advantage of the situation? Tang Nianyan mocked, as Yu Taiqiang held her underwear in his hands. Yu Taiqiang quickly dropped the underwear and smiled. "Of course, I want to be fair. I just want to be thorough." Tang Nianyan sneered. "I hope Deputy Director Yu continues to be this thorough." Wang Lingling's heart sank, and a bad feeling washed over her. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead, and her heart raced. It shouldn't be possible. She had done everything secretly. Tang Nianyan couldn't possibly know. Yu Taiqiang forced a smile. He had originally planned for his subordinates to check Wang Lingling's suitcase, but now, under pressure from Tang Nianyan, he had to do it himself. To avoid gossip, he meticulously examined Wang Lingling's suitcase, checking even her intimate clothing inch by inch. Wang Lingling's face turned pale and flushed, as if she were being publicly humiliated. Next room. After searching for over 10 minutes without finding anything, Yu Taiqiang felt frustrated and confused about what had gone wrong. "Deputy Director Yu, don't forget to check the bed."
Tang Nianyan themin de con li.
Yu Taiqiang gritted his teeth and glared at her. Tang Nianyan wasn't afraid. She met his gaze coldly. Soon, Yu Taiqiang felt defeated, cold sweat running down his back. The girl's gaze was too chilling. It felt like he was being targeted by a predator, and his life was in danger. Yu Taiqiang felt anxious, but also thought he might be overreacting. She was just a girl. How powerful could she be? He casually shook Wang Lingling's bedding, and with a loud slap, a letter fell to the ground. Everyone looked at the letter on the floor. It was a plain envelope bought from the post office, unsealed, with a corner of the letter exposed. Wang Lingling's face turned white, and cold sweat dripped down her face. How could it be on her bed? She had clearly put it in Tang Nianyan's suitcase. "It's not mine. Someone set me up." Wang Lingling screamed. She knew exactly what was written in the letter. If it was found in public, her fate would be sealed. She lunged to grab the letter back, but the others were quicker and held her down. Yu Taiqiang picked up the envelope and took out the letter, unfolding it. It was indeed addressed to someone across the river. "Take her away." Yu Taiqiang's face darkened. This outcome was not what he wanted. His brother-in-law had found a foolish woman, wasting his time and energy. He needed to vent his anger on someone. He would take it out on this foolish woman. Although she couldn't compare to Tang Yanyan, she was still decent-looking. He didn't mind settling for something less. It's not me, it's Tang Yanyan who harmed me. You should arrest her. Wang Lingling cried out desperately. What did I do to you? I don't even know what's in that letter. It's all so strange. Tang Yanyan scoffed, rolling her eyes. Director Jie had a stern expression. He saw through it immediately. Wang Lingling had tried to frame Tang Yanyan but ended up getting herself caught. Such a petty person deserved no sympathy. Deputy Director Yu, since we've caught the bad guy, take her away quickly. Don't disrupt our work. Director Jie declared, convicting Wang Lingling. I'm not. I'm being framed. It's Tang Yanyan who harmed me. Wang Lingling shouted in despair. If she was convicted of treason, not only would she die, but her family would also suffer, and she would never recover. She regretted it so much. Why did she let herself be tempted to harm Tang Yanyan? Tang Yanyan, I was wrong. Please save me. I know I was wrong. Help me explain that you put the letter there, right? Tell them it was you. Crazy. Tang Yanyan rolled her eyes again, ignoring Wang Lingling. You reap what you sow. She deserved it. Yu Taiqiang looked at her deeply, regretting losing such a beauty. He would find a way to get her later. Tang Yanyan felt even colder. This scoundrel's time was running out as he searched her underwear. But she still needed to find the mastermind behind this and take them all down. The group took Wang Lingling away, and the hotel became quiet. Although the other students were shaken, they quickly calmed down, except for Li Fangfang, who looked lost. Tang Yanyan ignored her and went to find Director Jie to inquire about Yu Taiqiang's background. Is Director Dong and Su Lifeng Yu Taiqiang's brother-in-law? Now I know who is behind this. Tang Yanyan figured out who the mastermind was. It was either Su Lifeng or Director Dong, or both were involved.
Don't worry, Tang.
Yu Taiqiang won't be coming back. Director Jie comforted her, assuring her that there would be no more incidents. He would report to the leaders and have them warn the group. Even if the group was arrogant, they had to give way for foreign exchange.
Okay.
Tang Yanyan nodded and returned to her room. As night fell, everyone in the hotel was asleep. A shadow jumped out from the windowsill. It was Tang Yanyan. She headed straight for the group and soon arrived, finding them asleep. Tang Yanyan easily located the place where Wang Lingling was held. She didn't go in but looked through the window to see the woman lying on the ground, disheveled, with a vacant and desperate expression. Clearly, she had been violated. The culprit could be Yu Taiqiang or one of his subordinates, but Tang Yanyan didn't care. She just wanted to see how miserable Wang Lingling was. Tang Yanyan found Yu Taiqiang's room. He was sprawled on the bed, snoring loudly. She used a wire to unlock the door and easily entered the room, swiftly dislocating Yu Taiqiang's jaw and limbs. Yu Taiqiang woke up in pain, trying to scream but unable to make a sound. He only saw a shadow, unable to tell if it was a man or woman, but he knew it wasn't a good person. Having harmed many people, fear immediately engulfed Yu Taiqiang. He wanted to escape, but his limbs felt weak, and he couldn't make a sound. He desperately whimpered, drooling. Who sent you to harm me? Your two brothers-in-law? As soon as Tang Yanyan spoke, Yu Taiqiang realized who she was and shook his head vigorously, trying to call for his subordinates. Still stubborn at death's door, Tang Yanyan pulled out several bamboo sticks, her beautiful face getting closer to Yu Taiqiang. He was no longer thinking clearly. He just wanted to flee.
Flew.
A sharp pain made him curl up, his face contorted in agony, tears and snot streaming down. Don't worry, there are 10 fingers. Tang Yanyan slowly picked up another of his fingers, inserting the bamboo stick into his index finger. Yu Taiqiang's expression twisted in even greater pain, and a foul smell began to emanate. I'll ask you again, did your two brothers-in-law make you harm me? Tang Yanyan grabbed his ring finger again. The bamboo stick hadn't been inserted yet, and Yu Tiaocheng nodded vigorously, admitting it. Where do they live? Tang Yanyan closed his jaw. As Yu Chong opened his mouth to scream, his jaw was dislocated again, and a third bamboo stick was inserted. Now all 10 of his fingers were filled, not a single one left empty. Yu Chong was in so much pain, he couldn't even scream. His expression turned numb, and all that remained in his eyes when he looked at Tang Nian was fear. He used to think he was ruthless, but compared to this woman, he was nothing, not even a small fry. Yu Chong regretted listening to his brother-in-law's nonsense and provoking a devil like Tang Nian. He knew he wouldn't survive the night. This woman wouldn't let him go.
Can you talk now?
Tang Nian asked coldly.
Woo.
Yu Chong looked at her pleadingly. Tang Nian closed his jaw again. This time he didn't dare to scream and honestly told her the addresses of his 2 brothers-in-law.
Please spare me.
I was confused. I won't do it again. You tell me to go east, I won't dare to go west. I'll do whatever you say. Yu Chong didn't want to die. He begged desperately, hoping Tang Nian would show him mercy and spare his life. Tang Nian looked at him coldly and said softly, "Don't worry, I won't take your life." Yu Chong's expression brightened, thinking she really would let him go. But he didn't stay happy for long. A sharp pain hit his head, and then he fell into darkness, as if trapped in an abyss, unable to see the light. Yu Chong's expression became dazed, drool dripping from his mouth, turning him into a fool. Tang Nian fixed his limbs. Everything was normal except for his mind. "I keep my word. I won't take your life myself." Tang Nian added a worn-out collar to his neck and led him outside. Yu Chong obediently followed her to the rooftop of a 5-story building, where the wind was strong. Tang Nian took off the collar and threw it forward, giving the command, "Go fetch it." Yu Chong panicked and ran towards the collar, but one foot slipped.
Thud.
A dull sound echoed, like a watermelon hitting the ground. The splatter was everywhere. Tang Nian walked to the edge of the rooftop and looked down. Yu Chong was face down, blood slowly pooling around him, soaking his clothes. "I keep my word, right?" Tang Nian said softly, putting the collar away for later use. She calmly walked downstairs, approached Yu Chong, pulled out a needle from his head, erased her marks, and vanished into the night. Next, she went to Su Lai Feng and Director Dong's homes, using the same method. That night, 3 people jumped off buildings in the streets of Hu City. When Tang Nian returned to the hotel, she took a shower in her space and then went to sleep. Li Fong slept particularly soundly that night. She thought she would be restless, but as soon as she lay down, she fell into a deep sleep until morning, almost oversleeping.
Komatang Nian. I'm sorry.
I apologize for my past arrogance and rudeness. Li Fong approached Tang Nian, who was washing up, and sincerely apologized. After Wang Lingling was taken away, she reflected for a long time and realized that her disdain for Tang Nian stemmed from Wang Lingling's words, calling Tang Nian an outsider and a country bumpkin. Being weak-willed, she was easily influenced by Wang Lingling. Li Fong felt lucky that Wang Lingling was caught early. Otherwise, she might have been swayed by this enemy and made a big mistake. Tang Nian glanced at her and coldly replied, "It's fine." She hadn't taken it to heart. Li Fong was just an unimportant person. "Have you forgiven me?" Li Fong asked hopefully. "To me, you are unimportant. I just ignored you." Tang Nian spoke honestly. She wouldn't be friends with someone like Li Fong. Li Fong's face fell, and she felt a bit angry. She didn't expect Tang Nian to be so blunt. Couldn't she say a few polite words? "I'll ignore you too." Li Fong raised her head, huffed proudly, and turned to leave. She shouldn't have humiliated herself. She wouldn't deal with Tang Nian again. Even if they met face to face, she would act as if she didn't see her. What's so great about her? Just because she's a bit pretty? I'm not ugly either. I'm from Puxi. Tang Nian didn't care about the girl's thoughts. After washing up, she went to the restaurant to eat and then to training. An hour later, Director Jie entered with a serious expression, giving Tang Nian a meaningful glance. He had just received a call from the police, saying that last night, Yu Chong, Su Lai-feng, and Director Dong all jumped off buildings within an hour of each other. Moreover, they all jumped face down, as if something very important below made them forget their lives. I feel like they were hypnotized. The police officer who called was an old comrade of Director Jia, very experienced, and had unique insights into the case. This old comrade even suspected Tang Nian because Yu Tiaochong had targeted her, and the masterminds were Su Lai-feng and Director Dong, giving Tang Nian a motive.
Impossible.
She didn't have the time to commit the crime. She was at the hotel last night. And how could a young girl make 3 grown men willingly jump off a building in an hour? Director Jia defended Tang Nian, though he had some doubts himself. After all, this girl was quite mysterious, with incredible medical skills and many talents. He heard from Minister Niu that she was quite capable. But he wouldn't mention this to the police. Tang Nian was a benefactor to his family, and frankly, Yu Tiaochong and the other 2 deserved their fate. Even if it was Tang Nian who did it, it was still a form of justice. Fortunately, the police didn't investigate Tang Nian. There were too many strange points in this case, and it was ultimately classified as sleepwalking, an accidental jump. There was no other reasonable explanation. After class, Director Jia called Tang Nian for a talk. Yu Tiaochong, Su Lai-feng, and Director Dong jumped off buildings between 2 and 3 in the morning. Director Jia got straight to the point, observing Tang Nian's expression as he spoke. They all jumped? Are they tired of living? Tang Nian raised an eyebrow, showing a hint of surprise. Maybe. Director Jia gritted his teeth. This girl was quite good at pretending. He deliberately asked, "Did you sleep well last night, little Tang?" "Not really. Li Fong in my room grinds her teeth like a rat, kept me awake. Can I switch to single room? I'll pay for it myself." Tang Nian expressed her grievances. She was speaking the truth. Li Fong did grind her teeth, but it wasn't that bad. She simply didn't want to share a room with someone else. Director Jia was both amused and exasperated, but he also felt a deeper wariness towards her. She managed to handle 3 people in one night and still joked around. Her determination was 100 times stronger than his. She was truly a good candidate for the military. You think too highly of yourself, wanting a single room?
I don't even have one.
Director Jia joked as he sent her out. Tang Nian stood up and reached for the door, but Director Jia suddenly said, "When you go to the trade fair, don't cause any trouble. I won't bother anyone if they don't bother me." Tang Nian replied and left. Her principle had always been the same. As long as no one provoked her, she was easy to get along with. Director Jia smiled, feeling a bit more at ease. Time flew by, and after a week of training, they were set to depart for Yangcheng. Director Jia led the group, booking a whole train car for themselves while the foreigners had another sleeper car. Everyone was seated in hard seats, while only the foreigners enjoyed sleeping arrangements. Tang Nian was deeply frustrated. She wanted to sleep in a sleeper car. It was a green train, and the journey from Hu City to Yangcheng would take 2 to 3 days. Sitting for that long would make her backside numb. "Uncle Jia, can I pay for a sleeper myself?" Tang Nian approached Director Jia. She wasn't unwilling to endure hardship. She just didn't want to suffer unnecessarily. Why sit for dozens of hours when she could sleep comfortably? "Xiao Tang, you really lack a sense of teamwork. We're all in this together. You can't be selfish." Director Jia noticed her carefree attitude. She was good at everything, but just didn't fit in. "Right, you're right. I just want to sleep in a sleeper." Tang Nian admitted she was used to being independent and didn't fit in, but what did that have to do with a sleeper? She just wanted a good night's sleep. Was that too much to ask? Director Jia felt a headache coming on. This girl had a strong personality and great abilities, but she didn't like to be disciplined. He needed to talk to her seriously. After a long lecture of over 10 minutes, Tang Nian felt her head spinning, her ears buzzing. Frustrated, she looked at Director Jia and said honestly, "Uncle Jia, if Sun Wukong had you as a master, he would have been lectured to death before reaching the West. If you were my daughter, I would have spanked you already. Go back to your seat. There's no way you're getting a sleeper." Director Jia's face turned serious. If it were a personal trip, He would have paid for her sleeper, but since this was a work trip, he couldn't make exceptions. Everyone else was sitting in hard seats, and those older and in higher positions than her were doing the same, without complaint. If he gave her a sleeper, how could he justify it to the others? Tang Nian puffed her cheeks and glared at him. If she had known, she would have just come to Yangqing on her own to avoid this suffering. Looking at me won't help. Just go back. Director Jia was both amused and exasperated. He waved her off, and after she left, he couldn't help but rub his lower back. Honestly, sitting in hard seats for so long was tough on his old back too. But the country was currently facing economic difficulties, and all officials had to travel in standard hard seats. No one could afford the luxury of sleeper cars. He couldn't set that precedent. After returning to her seat, Tang Nian didn't sit down. Her backside was numb, so she needed to stand for a while. Nian, you can lie down and sleep for a bit. Tang Jianqu stood up, and Zhou Guoqing and Tang Mantong also got up from their three-seat arrangement. No need, I'll stand for a while. Tang Nian refused. She had to think of a way to reasonably sleep in a sleeper car. She wasn't broke, so why suffer? Nian. Master. Boa and Emile bounced over, both sleeping in the sleeper car. Emile was supposed to go to school, but he convinced his parents to let him attend the trade fair instead, saying traveling was better than just studying. Tang Nian glanced at them, but didn't say anything. Nian, come stay with me. It's boring over there. Boa clung to her arm playfully. Aren't you playing with Emile? Tang Nian asked. No way, he's too childish. Boa wrinkled her nose in disdain. Emile hadn't even hit puberty yet. Too immature. Who's childish? I've had 3 girlfriends. Emile puffed out his chest, looking proud, which made Boa roll her eyes and ask sharply, have you even kissed anyone? Of course. Emile was about to say he had, but under Boa's piercing blue gaze, he couldn't finish. It felt wrong to lie in front of those beautiful eyes. God would never forgive him. Anyway, I've had 3 girlfriends. Emile mumbled. Boa scoffed, uninterested in the childish boy, and continued to pout at Tang Nian, come stay with me. There are plenty of empty beds. I'll ask my uncle to talk to the conductor. Tang Nian's interest peaked. A lot of empty beds? Yes, an entire car is empty. Tang Nian smiled. She had a plan. Help me with something. Tang Nian whispered a few instructions in Boa's ear. Boa nodded vigorously. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. People around them watched enviously as she chatted with the 2 foreign kids, looking like old friends. In just a few minutes, everyone began to take Tang Nian's group seriously. Comrade Xiao Tang, do you know the foreigners? After Boa and Emile left, a man sitting nearby couldn't help but ask. Everyone else perked up their ears to listen. We have business dealings. Tang Nian replied briefly, not wanting to engage further. She was there to earn money from foreigners, not waste energy on local manufacturers. Besides, she looked down on the arrogant attitudes of these people. Your unit has already started business with the foreigners? That's quick. The man's voice involuntarily rose, and others leaned in closer. They all had foreign exchange tasks for the trade fair, and failing to complete them would lead to criticism. The fair hadn't even started yet, and this Tang Nian had already secured business. How could they compete? They all worked for state-owned enterprises, and losing to a small village-run business would be embarrassing. Tang Nian glanced at him coolly and asked sarcastically, is there a rule that says we can't talk business outside the trade fair? Well, no, I was just asking. Comrade Xiao Tang, could you share some experience? We could learn from you. It's all for the country's prosperity, right? The man chuckled awkwardly, wanting to dig deeper. He also worked in a craft factory and had struggled with foreign exchange in previous years, hoping to steal some of Tang Nian's business. Want to hear some experience? Tang Nian saw right through the man's intentions. His motives were obvious. The man nodded eagerly, feeling pleased, thinking Tang Nian was too young and easy to flatter. Come closer, I'll only tell you. Tang Nian beckoned him with her finger. The man's excitement was evident as he leaned in closer, only to hear her softly say, 3 parts destiny, 7 parts hard work. The man didn't understand because Tang Nian Nian spoke in Minnan dialect. Remember, this is my valuable experience for winning in business every time. Tang Nian Nian said this sincerely, her voice loud enough for everyone in the carriage to hear. Everyone looked at the man with eager eyes, curious about what this valuable experience was. Wait, what do you mean, Comrade Tang? The man was anxious. He didn't understand at all. Take your time to figure it out. If it were that easy to understand, it wouldn't be valuable. Tang Nian Nian had a mysterious expression. Boa bounced over and ran straight to Director Jia, gesturing and talking rapidly. With the help of a translator, Director Jia understood her words and immediately looked over at Tang Nian Nian. He was sure this matter was closely related to her. Tang Nian Nian shrugged innocently. There are 20 beds. Leave 3 for my family and the other 17 can be arranged by Director Jia. You can take turns resting. This is my uncle's intention, so please agree. Boa had booked 20 sleeping berths, but it was actually Tang Nian Nian's money. With so many people attending the trade fair, it was impossible to arrange all sleeping berths. It would cost a fortune. She was fine with 20 beds, taking 3 for herself and letting others take turns resting, which was better than sitting on hard seats for 4 or 5 days. She wasn't being charitable, she just cared about her own comfort. Before Director Jia could respond, Boa ran back to Tang Nian Nian, pulling her toward the sleeping carriage. Your leader has already agreed. Let's go. Let's go. Tang Nian Nian waved to Tang Jianshu and the others, urging them to hurry up. She turned to Director Jia and said, Uncle Jia, this isn't me being carefree. It's just hard to refuse such kindness. Director Jia was both amused and helpless, so he went to discuss with other leaders whether to accept the foreign guests' goodwill. After some discussion, Director Jia approached Boa's uncle, offering to pay for the 20 sleeping berths, but Boa's uncle refused, saying, It's not my money. It's Tang Nian Nian's. Director Jia was taken aback and jokingly scolded, You really are generous. Tang Nian Nian had already laid down in the sleeping carriage, stretching out her limbs. It felt so comfortable. In the end, Director Jia arranged for a group of older people to rest in the sleeping carriage for 8 hours, then switch with another group for hard seats. Tang Jianshu, Zhou Guiqing, and Tang Mantong voluntarily gave up their beds for the older folks. They were young and could manage sitting for a few days. 3 days on the train felt longer than a month on land. Even after getting off the train, Tang Nian Nian could still hear the clattering sounds in her ears, and her bones felt sore. There was a special car waiting outside the station, but with so many people and few cars, they prioritized picking up foreign guests. Tang Nian Nian and her group had to wait outside for an hour before a car finally came to pick them up. Moreover, their hotel was not the same as the foreign guests. Although they were close, the quality and standards were worlds apart. Tang Nian Nian was very unhappy with the hotel arrangement. Why should her family be treated poorly while foreigners received better treatment? She disliked this arrangement, similar to a university in her later life that arranged for female students to accompany certain international students to ensure they had a pleasant experience. The school leaders who made such decisions must have been out of their minds. Why not send their own daughters to accompany the foreign students? Tang Nian Nian went directly to the hotel where the foreign guests were staying. With 2 packs of Chinese cigarettes, she managed to find out from the front desk staff that there were still a few vacant rooms reserved for emergencies. If she had asked to book a room, she surely wouldn't have gotten one. So, she went to find Emile, as it was better to let someone else handle it. Emile asked his Uncle Louis to book the rooms, saying that a few friends would be coming, but their arrival times were uncertain, so they needed to reserve the rooms first. The hotel manager was particularly attentive and arranged 2 rooms for them on the same floor as Boa and the others. Tang Nian Nian returned to inform Director Jia and then left the guest house with Tang Jianshu and the others to the hotel where the foreign guests were staying. Uncle Jia, it's inconvenient for me to perform here. I can generate more income over there. With just this one sentence, Tang Nian Nian successfully convinced Director Jia. She understood Director Jia. The current national situation was such that everyone, from top to bottom, was overly enthusiastic about foreigners, even to the point of being obsequious. But she wouldn't do that. In the era she lived in before, her country was strong and a world power, and ordinary citizens didn't flatter foreigners. She didn't want to preach to Director Jie and the others because only a strong nation could stand up to foreigners. Right now, the country was too weak, and words meant nothing. Tang Nianyan stayed on the fourth floor, while Boa, Emile, and others were on the first floor, along with Tang Jinglin's family and Zhao Fenghua. Nian Nian, let's go out to eat. Boa excitedly ran over to invite her, with Emile following closely behind. Tang Nian Nian called her uncle and the others, and they all headed for the elevator. When they had taken the elevator up earlier, Tang Jianshu and Zhou Guiqing were too scared to move, afraid of falling, while Tang Mantong managed to stay calm, though he was actually feeling dizzy. There were already people at the elevator entrance. An elegant older woman who was still beautiful, assisted by a big aunt, and a handsome foreign gentleman who was chatting and laughing with her. Nian Nian, what are we eating later? Boa affectionately linked her arm with Tang Nian Nian as they reached the elevator. The elevator was going down, and everyone was waiting. Let's see, there are many delicious things in Yangqing. Tang Nian Nian pulled her hand away. She didn't like close physical contact with others, except for Xin Xiao. Don't come so close. It's hot today. Isn't it uncomfortable? Tang Nian Nian rejected Boa's closeness, confused about why this girl liked to cling to her. Boa pouted and whispered, Nian Nian, you're so cool and comfortable to hug. I like you so much, but you won't let me. Stop it. You're making me uncomfortable. Tang Nian Nian rubbed her arms vigorously. It felt too cheesy.
Ha!
A light laugh came from nearby. It was Zhao Fenghua, who, along with Sister Cui, looked over at Tang Nian Nian, as did Hans. The three of them stared at Tang Nian Nian, and aside from Zhao Fenghua, Hans and Sister Cui were stunned. This young girl looked just like Zhao Fenghua. Miss, she looks like you when you were young. Sister Cui almost blurted it out. The elevator doors opened, and Tang Nian Nian gestured for Zhao Fenghua to go in first. You all go ahead. We're not in a hurry. Zhao Fenghua smiled slightly. She liked Tang Nian Nian. Although she seemed aloof, she was actually quite interesting and gave her a sense of familiarity. Thank you. Tang Nian Nian was polite, smiled at her, and pulled Boa into the elevator as it quickly descended. Miss, this girl looks almost exactly like you when you were young. Sister Cui said anxiously. Zhao Fenghua was stunned and then shook her head. That's impossible. I wasn't as pretty as her when I was young. Really, if you don't believe me, ask Mr. Hans. It does look a lot like you. Just now, I thought it was you when you were younger, but looking closely, it's not quite the same. Fenghua, you used to smile a lot when you were young, but this girl seems a bit cold and doesn't smile. Hans observed closely and noticed that Tang Nian Nian had a cool demeanor, very different from the charming Zhao Fenghua. There are many people who look alike. It's not surprising. Zhao Fenghua didn't think much of it. There are too many people who resemble each other in the world. She just wanted to find her son quickly. The elevator arrived, and the three of them stepped inside. Just as they were about to close the door, a cheerful voice called out, Wait a moment. Tang Chongfeng ran over, all by himself. He jumped into the elevator and cheerfully said to the three, Thank you.
Zhao Fenghua smiled back.
This boy also gave her a warm feeling, and she didn't know why, but during this trip to the mainland, her heart seemed to have softened. She felt a connection to good-looking young people, which was unusual for her.
Ding.
The elevator reached the first floor, and the door opened. Sister Cui helped Zhao Fenghua out, but a man rushed in, nearly colliding with Zhao Fenghua. Tang Chongfeng quickly stepped forward to block the impact. Sister Cui angrily said, How can you be so careless? The people inside haven't come out yet. Why are you in such a hurry? Can you afford to pay if you bump into my lady? I'm sorry, I didn't see. The man was a tall foreigner with a large nose, around 40 years old, and he appeared very arrogant. However, when he saw Hans, he toned it down a bit and smiled. Although the man apologized, it wasn't sincere. His eyes and expression showed clear disdain, but only towards the Chinese. Are you blind? With only 2 eyes, you can only look up? My lady is the Countess of Cumberland. What are you so proud of? Sister Cui, usually quiet, was now full of confidence, not intimidated at all by the taller foreign man. Zhao Fenghua remained calm and said in fluent English, "Sir, this is Chinese land. Your behavior reflects on your country. Don't bring shame to your nation. Are you the Countess of Cumberland?" The man looked skeptical. The Countess of Cumberland was well known in the noble circles of Europe and America because she was an Eastern woman and a second wife. When the Count married her, his family and the royal family opposed it, but he was willing to give up his wealth and title for her. Like Edward VIII, he chose love over power. But the Count of Cumberland was luckier than Edward VIII. The other heirs of the Cumberland family were mediocre, relying on the Count to support them. The family's finances depended on him, and he had the final say. At that time, Edward VIII's situation had caused quite a stir, and if they stripped the Count of his title, it would create even more trouble. In the end, the royal family had to acknowledge the Eastern woman. Of course, the main reason was that the Count's first wife had given birth to 3 sons and a daughter, so the title wouldn't pass to the children of this Eastern woman. Surprisingly, after marrying the Count, she and he were very affectionate, but they never had children. When the Count passed away a few years ago, the title went to his eldest son. The new Count respected his stepmother, and this Eastern woman was very sociable, often attending royal and noble parties, charming everyone. She even established her own luxury brand and became quite wealthy. Thus, after the old Count's death, her status remained high in noble circles, though in recent years, she seemed to have withdrawn and rarely appeared in social events. With the foreign man were a few others who curiously looked at Zhao Fenghua. They had heard the legends about the old countess, said to be from the mysterious and distant China, an educated lady who spoke many languages. However, some claimed the old countess was a courtesan with many clients and that she met the late count in a brothel. There were various rumors that added to her mystique, and she never came forward to clarify, but her luxury brand continued to thrive. Facing the curious gazes of these people, Zhao Fenghua remained composed, slightly raised her chin, and smiled. "Of course, please step aside. I need to exit the elevator." The group was intimidated by her presence and instinctively moved aside, watching as Zhao Fenghua and her companions exited the elevator. She really is the Countess of Cumberland. Her aura is so noble. The disdainful looks from everyone gradually turned respectful. The old countess was said to be noble, beautiful, and elegant, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who met her. They had previously thought such claims were exaggerated, wondering how someone could be that beautiful. Now that they saw her in person, they believed it. Indeed, some people seemed as if they were sculpted by God himself. Even with age, their beauty remained undeniable. So, what if she's a countess? She's just a lowly yellow-skinned woman. The man with the large nose scoffed, his expression full of disdain. His name was Kurt, an American who held extreme prejudice against Chinese people. "Be careful with your words. This is China. Don't let anyone hear you," his companions warned him, thinking it wise to be cautious in China. "It doesn't matter if they hear. They need us to buy their goods. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have food to eat." Kurt boasted, proud of his past successes at trade fairs, where he made a lot of money selling affordable goods back home. He had signed up for the autumn trade fair to stock up even more. His companions frowned slightly, but said nothing more. After all, many people in China were indeed struggling to eat. Although Kurt's words were harsh, they held some truth. They also felt that doing business in China was a way to help the Chinese people. They saw themselves as saviors. "You all are too cautious. Haven't you seen how those officials bow and scrape to us? We are their gods. Even if we were to insult them, they wouldn't dare resist. They would still try to please us." Kurt laughed loudly, his large nose turning red and looking particularly out of place. They had exited the elevator, and in the hallway, many foreign merchants laughed at his words, clearly agreeing with him. Tang Nianyan didn't hear their arrogant remarks. She and Boa were looking for a restaurant in the alleys of Yangcheng. Bova and Emile wanted to go to a fancy restaurant, but Tang Nian disagreed. With her experience as a foodie from several lifetimes, she believed that to taste authentic local food, they needed to go to a small, hole-in-the-wall eatery in a narrow alley. It had to be a place that looked a bit dirty and old, preferably run by a couple, with the husband cooking in a greasy apron, a cigarette in his mouth, and wearing flip-flops, casually and lazily frying dishes. The wife would be the waitress and cashier, and together, they would serve amazing food. Tang Nian found some elderly folks chatting at the alley entrance and asked them in authentic Cantonese about a small restaurant. Walk straight for 100 meters, turn left, and then walk another 50 meters. There's a restaurant called Guanghui and the food is really good. The elderly folks were very enthusiastic and even offered to guide them, but Tang Nian declined, saying she could easily find her way. Guanghui restaurant was not hard to find. After a few minutes, they arrived. It was a state-run establishment now, but the elderly folks mentioned it used to be called Huangji Chicken Shop. This chicken shop served real chicken and was famous for its white-cut chicken, and the soup was also excellent. After nationalization, it was renamed Guanghui Restaurant. The restaurant looked like it had been around for years, with tables and chairs showing signs of age. It was quite busy, and Tang Nian found an empty table and ordered the restaurant's signature dishes, along with a bowl of soup for each person. After paying, she sat down and spotted Zhao Fenghua and her companions entering, along with Tang Chongfeng. This restaurant used to be called Huangji Chicken Shop. The white-cut chicken is delicious, but I love their soup. I haven't had it in a long time, Zhao Fenghua said enthusiastically, introducing the restaurant's history to Hans in English. Her voice, though a bit hoarse, was pleasant, revealing a strong and stable personality. Mike, would you like to join us for a meal? Zhao Fenghua cheerfully invited Tang Chongfeng. She liked this boy, who had just helped her in the elevator. He was kind-hearted and good-natured. He was also quite handsome. If she had a grandson, he would probably look just as good.
Sure.
Tang Chongfeng readily agreed. He liked Zhao Fenghua too, finding her knowledgeable and her voice soothing, like a kind elder. If his grandmother were alive, she would probably be just like her. Miss, there are no seats left. Sister Cui looked around, seeing that all the tables were full. That's okay, we'll wait, Zhao Fenghua replied calmly. At her age, she had learned to take things easy. Unless it was a matter of life and death, nothing would make her anxious. But you can't stand for too long. Let me ask the manager, Sister Cui said, worried about Zhao Fenghua's health. She approached the restaurant manager and politely explained Zhao Fenghua's situation. Upon seeing a foreign guest, the manager immediately promised to find a solution. The manager approached Tang Nian, asking if they could shift a bit to make room for the foreign guests. That elderly lady isn't well and can't stand for long. She's here for the Canton Fair, just like you. Could you please make some adjustments? The manager explained, pointing towards Zhao Fenghua. The manager considered Tang Nian because she had foreign guests too, and it would be suitable for them to sit together. Plus, Tang Nian's table was near the wall, so they could squeeze together to create space. Tang Nian looked over, and Zhao Fenghua smiled and nodded at her. Sure. Tang Nian agreed, having a good impression of the lovely elderly lady.
Thank you.
I'll move the table, the manager said gratefully, calling a waiter to bring over a table and chairs. Tang Nian and her group squeezed against the wall, creating just enough space for the new table. Thank you for your understanding. The manager expressed his gratitude again before going to arrange the meals. Sister Cui helped Zhao Fenghua sit down and took out a handkerchief to wipe the table. Since entering the restaurant, Tang Chongfeng had been curiously looking around and had noticed Tang Nian. After finishing his inspection of the restaurant, he remarked, "This place is so different from Hong Kong. The people here seem more vibrant and full of life, unlike those in Hong Kong who look so drained and disconnected. There's a lot of pressure in Hong Kong and people live quite exhausted," Zhao Fenghua agreed, recalling her time living there before going abroad. Although she had received a large inheritance from the Tang family and didn't have to worry about daily meals, living in a hillside villa, she could still sense the struggles of the common people in Hong Kong. To put it bluntly, as long as they could breathe and move, they had to keep working until they dropped. Yes, people there are too tired. My friend's grandparents are in their 70s or 80s and still have to work long hours to make ends meet. They live in a house that's less than 30 square feet. I visited once, and it was suffocating. Tang Chongfeng said, sitting with his back to Tang Nian, chatting animatedly with Zhao Fenghua. The friend he mentioned was also a good buddy with whom he formed a band. Having a place to live is already quite good. Plus, your friend is a university student and will likely find a decent job after graduation. Their future won't be bad. Zhao Fenghua smiled. Tang Chongfeng seemed to come from a well-off family and had not experienced hardship, yet he remained kind-hearted and made friends without prejudice regarding backgrounds, which was quite rare. However, if your friend asked to borrow money, would you lend it to him? Zhao Fenghua couldn't help but ask. For some reason, she felt a growing connection with Tang Chongfeng and wanted to share some life lessons to help him avoid unnecessary pitfalls. Of course. He's not just my classmate, he's my good friend. If I have money, I'd definitely lend it, Tang Chongfeng replied without hesitation. Zhao Fenghua initially wanted to elaborate, but then thought it might be too soon for such deep discussions since they had just met. She felt she had no standing or qualification to say much. You're a good kid, but even if you lend money, make sure to keep enough for your own living expenses. Don't end up unable to afford food, Zhao Fenghua reminded him with a smile. Don't worry, my brother won't let me go hungry. He's very capable, Tang Chongfeng said cheerfully, seemingly carefree. Tang Nian listened to their conversation, unable to help but glance at this somewhat silly, but wealthy boy. She only caught a glimpse of his profile, which suggested he was good-looking, but he seemed a bit dim-witted. He would likely face harsh realities in life, and that capable older brother of his might often have to clean up after him. Tang Nian silently criticized him a bit, but lost interest in Tang Chongfeng as the soup arrived. Each person received a bowl of soup, and when she lifted the lid, a delicious aroma wafted up. Drink it while it's hot. Soup warms the stomach before a meal, Tang Nian reminded Bova and Emile, then said the same to Tang Jianshu and the others before starting to drink. This soup has grass roots in it, and chicken feet can also be used for soup. How strange. Zhou Guoqing took a sip of the soup. It tasted quite fresh, but he couldn't quite understand the ingredients. There was pork, chicken feet, and grass roots, but together they tasted pretty good. That's five-fingered peach, a medicinal herb. It makes this soup very tasty, Tang Nian said with a smile. I still prefer dried vegetable soup. Tang Jianshu finished a bowl of soup and shared his thoughts. He couldn't handle fine food. Dried vegetable soup was the best for him. All the dishes were served. Tang Nian picked up a piece of white-cut chicken and found it really delicious, tender, and flavorful. You are from Zhejiang, right? My dad also loves dried vegetable soup, but we can't find authentic dried vegetables where I live.
Huh.
Tang Chongfeng had sharp ears and could speak Shanghai dialect. Tang Jianshu spoke in the dialect of Zhucheng, both belonging to the Wu language family, so he could understand. Hearing about dried vegetable soup excited him because his dad, Tang Jinglin, loved it and often bought it from their hometown in Zhejiang. Dried vegetable steamed meat, dried vegetable meat pies, and dumplings with dried vegetable filling were all very tasty, and Tang Chongfeng loved them too. Tang Chongfeng turned to talk to Tang Jianshu, but ended up locking eyes with Tang Nian. Tang Nian was focused on eating chicken and didn't notice Tang Chongfeng's shocked expression. Little sister, you are my little sister, right? Tang Chongfeng instantly recognized his sister. She looked just like in the photo. He jumped up in surprise, startling everyone else. What's wrong? Zhao Fenghua, who also spoke Shanghai dialect, heard Tang Chongfeng call her little sister and looked at Tang Nian. Are they siblings? But why don't they recognize each other? Tang Nian raised her head and looked at the excited Tang Chongfeng, feeling a bit disdainful. This silly guy is actually her brother? Does that mean she has to share the responsibility of cleaning up after him? Shut up and eat first.
Tang Nian Kunli interrupt Tang Chanfen.
There were too many people around. They could talk more after dinner at the hotel. Oh, okay. I'll eat. Tang Chongfeng obediently fell silent, but was too excited to stop glancing at his sister, grinning foolishly. He was the first to find his little sister, and she was even prettier than in the photo. Dad, Mom, and Big Brother would definitely be jealous of him. After all, they didn't come out to eat. Tang Nian expression showed more disdain, but the corners of her mouth slightly lifted. Tang Jianshu felt overwhelmed. He clearly heard the stylish man call Nian little sister. Nian was his sister. How did she become someone else's little sister? He was still young, so his feelings showed on his face. A bit flustered, Tang Mantong kicked him under the table and whispered a warning. Eat. Don't let others notice. Only then did Tang Jianshu realize that other diners were watching them. He felt a chill and focused on his meal. Everyone found the meal rather tasteless, except for the carefree Boa, Emile, and Tang Nian, who calmly finished 3 bowls of rice. Let's head back to the hotel. Tang Nian stood up and signaled for Tang Chongfeng to follow. Zhao Fenghua had also finished eating and was very curious about the relationship between the siblings, so she followed them back to the hotel. Little sister, Dad, Mom, and Big Brother are at the hotel. They aren't hungry. I came out to eat alone, and they must be so jealous. Haha, I'm the first to see you. Little sister, you're even prettier than in the photo. What about your boyfriend? Why didn't he come? Is he really good at martial arts? Can he walk on walls? Can he float